Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Namake's Minato survived the Kyuubi's attack and do everything for Naruto part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Minato stood in the operating room with his tiny newborn son in his hands. Her pulse is dropping. She's losing too much blood. The doctor shouted and cast a medical jutsu. 2 other doctors were casting medical jutsus as well. But even so, from their panic shouts it seemed she was fading away. He suddenly wished he'd gone and gotten Tsunade, even if it had been against her will. Kushina had asked her friend to come deliver their child. The Sannin had sent back a message apologizing but saying she never wanted to see Konoha again. They had been disappointed but not worried. Kushina was in the best of health and Konoha had some of the finest medical facilities in the world. They'd assumed everything would be fine. Then they'd gotten word about the Kyuubi. Reports began to arrive about villages and towns laid to fiery ruin. Scouts were sent out, and those not slaughtered by the beasts sent back reports confirming the demon fox was heading straight for the village and would arrive in mere hours. He'd quickly realized that no ninjutsu could possibly defeat some powerful being. He'd decided the only hope was a sealing jutsu. But there was no seal known that could possibly overwhelm such a creature. Luckily Jiraiya happened to be in the village. Together they had come up with a solution that might work, the Shiki Fujin. They would call upon the power of a death god, a Shinigami, to imprison the Kyuubi. But to work this ultimate sealing jutsu 2 things were required. A newborn child to act as the container, and a human sacrifice. As Hokage he felt it fell upon him to make that sacrifice, and that it fell upon his son and heir to be the container. Kushina had railed against his decision, tearfully arguing against losing him and having her child used to imprison a demon. She had argued against his decision, but in the end she had admitted there was no choice. So as he and Jiraiya worked feverishly to complete the jutsu formula, she was induced into labor. Only then had they realized her body was not as strong as they'd all thought. The stress of knowing he would die, of knowing what her baby would have to endure, the overwhelming fear of the coming apocalypse, and the pressure of her body being forced into labor. All of them had been too much. As he stood there powerless, he could do no more than watch as Kushina's heartbeat continued to slow, until it stopped. The doctors had done all they could, but they hadn't been able to save her. She hadn't even been conscious, so there had been no chance for a final goodbye. She had simply gone. "Kushina, my love," he whispered. At that moment his son, Naruto, began to cry. Minato looked down at the little baby. He wondered if somehow he knew on some instinctual level that he had lost his mother. Or if perhaps he was able to feel his father's pain. "It'll be all right, my son." He gently cradled him in his arms and held him close. "It'll be all right." Atop the tower Minato arrived without warning. Jiraiya and Sarutobi turned to him. "How is Kushina?" Sarutobi asked. They were well aware of difficulties she'd been having during her labor. Minato looked at the former Hokage and gave a single sad shake of his head. Sarutobi lowered his eyes. "I'm so sorry, kid. She was a really good woman." Jiraiya said. "Yes, she was, and I loved her." He looked out into the distance. "But I have no time to mourn." It was night, but to the west it was as bright as morning. The giant fox was only a few miles away now. Each of his tails could be seen clearly. Out there in the fiery light the ninja of Konoha were sacrificing themselves to buy him the time he needed. They had no chance of defeating or even injuring the Kyuubi. They were a momentary distraction to the nine-tail, nothing more. On the rooftop a small table with lit candles had been set. Minato carefully put his son down and dipped a brush into an ink jar. He carefully but swiftly wrote out the seal on his son's belly. "Are you sure about locking away only half of the chakra?" Jiraiya asked. Minato nodded his head even as he continued to write the symbols. "Naruto will need that strength someday. He'll be the greatest ninja this village has ever seen. He'll use the Kyuubi's might to protect Konoha. He'll be a hero." "You know what, kid?" Jiraiya said softly. "I bet he will. I mean, how could he not be with who his parents are?" "He's not going to have any family," Minato said sadly. "He'll be an orphan." He looked up at the two of them. "I want the village to see him as a hero, but no matter what, please watch out for him." Sarutobi nodded. Jiraiya smiled sadly. "Don't worry, I promise you he won't grow up alone." Minato gave Jiraiya a look of relief. "Thank you, sensei. If you say that, then I can be sure." At last it was ready. Minato made a single hand sign. "Seal." The ink glowed for an instant and melded permanently into the baby's skin even as he continued to weep. Minato looked down at the little crying face. "I'm so sorry, my son." Jiraiya stepped up behind him. "I'm sorry too, kid, please forgive me." Minato felt a sudden vicious chop to the back of his head. Caught totally unaware, it knocked him clean out. "Sensei." Jiraiya caught him before he could hit the floor and carefully set him down. "Hey, I wonder if this counts as assaulting the Hokage?" He looked at Sarutobi with an amused grin. "Well, it's not like I need to worry about being executed for it." He carefully took the squalling babe in his arms. "Jiraiya, I beg you to let me do this," Sarutobi said. "Of the 3 of us, the village can most easily do without an old retired Hokage rather than a Sannin, or the ruling Hokage." "Sorry, old man, But of the three of us, you're the only one who doesn't know the jutsu, and I don't have time to teach it you. Thanks for everything though, you were the best sensei a guy could ask for. If you could though, tell Tsunade something for me. That you love her? Jiraiya opened his mouth, but hesitated. Then he grinned. Nah, tell her I really wish I could have sucked those magnificent jugs even just once. He gave Sarutobi a body wink as though sharing a final naughty joke with him. Then he looked down at the baby. Don't worry, Naruto, no matter what happens, you're a very lucky little boy. You're going to grow up with the finest ninja and man I have ever known as your dad. Now let's go. Together they vanished in a swirl of wind and leaves. Minato came to about half an hour later. He rubbed the back of his head and noted he was still on the roof. Jiraiya, you idiot. He looked around. There was Sarutobi. In his arms was a sleeping baby. As Minato got to his feet, he immediately noted how dark it was. Looking out beyond the wall, he saw nothing but empty forest. He ran up to Sarutobi. What happened? Jiraiya. He didn't take my place, did he? Sarutobi nodded sadly. He did, Minato. He sacrificed himself and saved the entire village. The sealing was a success. Jiraiya sensei. In one night he had lost two of the most important people in the world to him. Why? Why did he do that? I was ready to make the sacrifice. He decided that you were needed, Minato, by both the village and by your son. He did not want to deprive either of them of you. Please don't blame him or feel guilty. He only did what you were prepared to do. He sacrificed himself for the ones he loved. Here, Sarutobi handed over Naruto. There is still much to do, both tonight and in the days ahead. But at least Konoha and Naruto will have you there to guide and protect them. Minato looked down at his son's face. He was very surprised to see 3 tiny scars on each cheek. They looked like whiskers. Physical evidence of the possession? Minato wondered. Looking at his son, he knew there would be some tough times in his future, but he would do everything he possibly could to help him through them. Leaning over, he placed a warm kiss on his son's cheek. I love you, Naruto. It was morning. Minato sat wearily at the head of the council table. Though the village had survived, there had been losses. Roughly 300 brave ninja had died, about double that had been wounded, filling Konoha Hospital and pressing its medical staff. Mercifully, the Kyuubi had not made it into the village itself. The night had been filled with weary civilians making their way home from the cliff shelters where they had been evacuated. Minato had overseen everything while keeping a careful eye on his son. Now that the sun was up, he had called an emergency meeting of the council. There was nothing to be decided now. It was really just to give them a report on their status following the attack. Someone had found a crib and Naruto was peacefully asleep behind his father as he told the council members officially about Jiraiya's courageous sacrifice and of how the Kyuubi had been defeated. Of course they already knew, the story had spread like wildfire, so in short, Minato smothered a yawn. The danger to the village is now over. Despite the loss of Jiraiya and so many other brave souls, Konoha has survived. Now, if there is nothing else, I'll be taking my son home so I can get a few hours of sleep. I beg your pardon, Hokage-sama. Uchiha Fugaku stood up. But there is something we need to discuss. He covered up another yawn. Trust Fugaku to want to drag things out. Yes? What is it? With respect, Hokage-sama, is the crisis truly over? Is the village now completely safe? Minato frowned. His sleep-deprived brain did not like the sound of those questions. What do you mean? The Kyuubi is now safely contained within my son, but how can we be certain that the Kyuubi no longer poses a threat? My son is now what is referred to as a Jinchuriki, Minato began to explain. He has essentially become the Kyuubi's jailer. The Kyuubi will not be able to control or influence him in any way. There would be little point to the seal otherwise. As he grows older, he will be able to draw some of the Kyuubi's chakra, but he will remain in control. Can you be absolutely certain of that? Fugaku questioned. Yes. The simple answer caught Fugaku a bit off guard. How can you be completely sure of such a thing? Because the 2 men who created the seal were myself and my sensei, the world's top 2 seal masters. We made that seal absolutely secure, and I have no doubt whatsoever as to its strength. He arched an eyebrow. Will you accept my opinion, or do you believe you know more about seals than I do? Up and down the table there was laughter, and an embarrassed Fugaku darkened. He was not used to being openly mocked. With respect, Hokage-sama, Fugaku continued. Since the child is your son, you may not be objective. I believe given the potential danger posed, we must make absolutely certain that the Kyuubi can never again threaten this village. Minato looked over at his sleeping son. What do you propose? Fugaku straightened his shoulders and faced the yondaime. For the safety of this village, I believe the container should be put to death, and the threat permanently eliminated. There were gasps followed by utter silence. Minato sat there and looked at Fugaku for a moment. I am passing a law, he said quietly. As of this moment, anyone who threatens harm to my son, whether by speech, written word, or action, shall be put to death immediately. And that will specifically include members of this council. He looked directly at the Uchiha clan head. If you ever repeat those words or take any sort of action against my son, I will kill you myself. Is that clear? Very clear, Hokage-sama, Fugaku answered and sat down. Oh, and one more thing, Minato said as he took Naruto out of his crib. Kushina and I were married a year and a half ago in secret. I'll have copies of the marriage certificate made available to all of you. I just want to make it official that Naruto's last name is Namikaze and he is my designated heir." Up and down the table heads bobbed in quiet acknowledgement. They all accepted this without question. "Now I'll be going home to rest. I'll be back in 6 hours." Minato and his son were gone in flash of yellow. "There you go." Minato carefully placed him down in the crib. Standing in the nursery made him grieve. Every single thing in this room had been picked out by him and Kushina. "Oh my darling, how I wish you were still here with me, Minato-sama?" A woman entered the nursery without bothering to ask if she could. "I thought I heard your voice." He smiled at the old woman in a maid's uniform. "Hello Kid, it's good to see you again. Come say hello to Naruto." Kid approached and stood over the crib beside Minato. Is it true he is the Kyuubi?" For once fear poked out of her normally calm exterior. Minato shook his head. "No, he is not the Kyuubi. He is the Kyuubi's jailer. He is no more the Kyuubi than I am." Kid looked at him, unable to completely hide her nerves. "Is there any chance the Kyuubi could escape?" "None," Minato said. "That seal was made by me and Sensei. It has layers of redundancy and fail-safes. There is absolutely no chance the seal could fail. And I'll be checking on it regularly even so. Believe me, I would not have brought him home if there were even a 1 in a million chance of seal failure." Kid slowly nodded. The fear vanished and the normal calm exterior returned. "If you say so, Minato-sama, then I believe you. I will remain in the nursery and take care of him. When he wakes he will likely be hungry. I have formula ready." She looked at Minato respectfully. "Do you wish me to take charge of him, or would you prefer I hire a nanny? You raised me when I lost my mother. I can't think of anyone else I'd rather have taking care of my son." She bowed to him. "Thank you, Minato-sama. I will do my best to be as good a caretaker with Naruto as I was with you. I am very sorry about Kushina and Jiraiya. She was a lovely woman and would have made a wonderful mother. He was a vile pervert but a good teacher and friend to you." Minato loved how Kid was never afraid to tell him what she thought, even now. "Thank you, I'm going to miss them both." He smothered a yawn. "The memorial will be tomorrow." Kid nodded. "Get some sleep, Minato-sama. I will watch after the little one." 2 days later the memorial was held. More than 300 photos were put on display, Kushina's and Jiraiya's among them. Among the people who attended the service were an exhausted Tsunade and Shizen. As soon as he saw her, Minato couldn't help but feel anger. He would never know for sure if Kushina would have lived if Tsunade had been there, but he was sure the odds would have been higher. Though he spotted her, he made no effort to talk to her before the ceremony. She did, however, meet him to offer condolences. "I'm very sorry, Minato," Tsunade told him. "I see you managed to make it to the village after all," he said coldly. He knew he wasn't really being fair, but he couldn't seem to help it. Tsunade flinched a bit at her reception. She'd hoped to hear him call her auntie but didn't think that was going to happen. "I really am very sorry, Minato. If I'd had any idea anything like this would happen, I would have come." He nodded. He did believe that. "Is it true that your son is now the Kyuubi's container?" she asked. "Yes," Minato replied. "I was ready to sacrifice myself to perform the jutsu before Sensei knocked me out. I felt it was my duty as Hokage. As my son and heir, I thought it was Naruto's duty to imprison the demon, and tried to use his power for the good of the village. As long as I'm here, why don't I give him a checkup? I would love to see him." Tsunade offered. "That won't be necessary, Tsunade," he said politely but brusquely. "My son has excellent doctors to look out for him, and I wouldn't want to keep you in this village you hate so much any longer than necessary. Minato, please excuse me." He walked past her to speak to some other mourners who wanted to pass on their wishes. Tsunade had secretly been hoping he would invite her to stay for a few days. She really did want to see the baby, and to talk to Minato and the old man. But after talking with Minato, she decided it would be better to just go. So she and Shizen left Konoha after only a few hours. Minato had passed a law barring any threat against his son but did not pass one to prevent people from talking about what he was. Minato wanted the villagers to see him as a hero, and so he did not object to their talking about the sacrifice he had made. Also, given the public nature of the Kyuubi's defeat at the hands of the gallant Jiraiya, he felt declaring it secret would be pointless. Surely everyone would find out eventually anyway, so why bother trying to keep it secret? Most of the people in the village accepted Naruto. Some really did see him as a hero. Most accepted him as the Yandame's son and believed he had done his duty to the village. With Minato alive, the vast majority were certain Naruto was not dangerous. During that first year, 89 people were executed for violating the Hokage's special law. Many of these were drunken idiots who screamed threats while in a bar or wandering home. Their intoxication was no defense. If they were unlucky enough to speak the threat where an A and B you could hear them, they were killed on the spot. If someone informed on them, they were arrested and their guilt or innocence was determined using mind-reading jutsus or interrogation methods. If they were innocent, they were sent home. If they were guilty, they were executed. The Hokage's law was enforced zealously. Of those 89, none were ninja and none of them were executed for taking any sort of threatening action against Naruto. No one was stupid enough to actually try and trespass onto the Namikaze estate. At least not until, 3 years later, there had been a short border conflict with the forces of Kumo. Minato had offered to go to help his forces fight, but the council had been adamant their Hokage not leave the village. After some inconclusive battles, the war had fallen into a stalemate. At last the Raikage offered to negotiate a settlement and treaty of alliance. He sent a group of high-ranking ninja to Konoha to make peace. A single figure in black leapt over the iron fence and onto the private grounds. The estate was heavily forested, and so he had ample cover as he approached the great mansion. Over a year had been spent preparing this mission. The Raikage was obsessed with the Biju and wanted as much of their power as he could get. The chance to acquire the most powerful of all of them was too good to be passed up. The ninja came to a halt on the edge of the wood to take a look at the mansion before dashing over the open ground to it. He never suspected Minato was there until he felt a fist crash into the back of his skull. When he woke up, he was in chains in an ANBU interrogation cell. The instant he realized what had happened, he butt down hard. "Don't bother, the cyanide tablet was removed after you were captured," Minato said. The Cloud Nin looked up to see the Yondaime Hokage casually leaning against the far wall of his cell. "I take responsibility for my actions. I acted alone and was not under any sort of order." "Of course not, that's what the rest of your party said when they were arrested as well." "You arrested them?" "That was not how the game was played. When ninja were granted diplomatic status, only the one actually caught committing a crime were liable for arrest. That is a violation of diplomatic rights. I cancelled your diplomatic status the second I caught you trying to hurt my son. Oh, and by the way, you shouldn't try and sneak into a seal master's home. I have every inch of the grounds warded. I knew the moment you trespassed that you were out there. Do what you will with me, Hokage-sama. But if you do not release the others, the war will certainly be renewed." "Oh, I know it will be," Minato said. "For coming here to try and kidnap my son, you and your entire party will be executed. And this time I'll be going to the front to take charge of things personally." Minato did go to the front despite the worries of the council. He gave the Cloud Ninja a full bloody taste of the Yellow Flash's fury. After a matter of weeks, they understood just why the IWA Nin had had a retreat on site order for him. The Raikage again sued for peace, this time sincerely. He also again requested an alliance with the fearsome Leaf Ninja. Minato agreed to this, thus giving Konoha alliances with both Suna and Kumo. That October 10th, Minato celebrated the victory over the Kyuubi. To him, this day would always be a mix of good and bad. It was Naruto's birthday and a day of salvation for Konoha. But it also marked the deaths of Kushina and Jiraiya. Being Hokage, though, he had to take part and be seen celebrating. With a drink in hand, he watched as Naruto and Hinata were playing with Neji. Hayashi and his brother Hisashi were nearby, keeping an eye on them as they talked. Naruto was a very happy and outgoing child. He had no fear of the village or villagers and was being taught to love his home and to defend it. He told him stories about his mom and about Jiraiya sensei. He'd been very sad to learn that Whirlpool had been destroyed. Tragically, Kushina's entire clan had been wiped out except for one uncle. He'd offered the man a place in his home, but he had written just once to state his place was in Whirlpool. It was a shame, but since Whirlpool was now a province of Earth Country, it would not be safe to let Naruto visit him. As the fireworks began, Naruto ran to his side to watch them together. "Hey Daddy! Are these really for me?" Naruto asked excitedly. Smiling, he picked his son up and put him on his shoulder. "They sure are, son. Happy birthday." "Yay!" Minato was happy to see that honest joy. Despite all the tragedies of the past, he still hoped the future might be bright and wondrous. Minato was looking at the pile of paperwork on his desk. "I think if I had really truly known how much paperwork was involved in this, I would have let Orochimaru have this job. Well, maybe not, but I would have been tempted." Thinking about Orochimaru made him grimace. Even after all these years, they still had no idea where he was or what he was doing. Minato was certain that hoping he might have died somehow was nothing but wishful thinking. "We'll probably only find him when he wants to be found, and that's likely to be a disaster." One of the unexpected consequences of Jiraiya's death had been the crippling of Konoha's spy network. During his many journeys, Konoha's spymaster seemed to have recruited agents in nearly every corner of the elemental lands. But for reasons of security, he had never committed anything to paper, preferring instead to rely on his keen memory. That had certainly provided an extra layer of security. But with his death, all the agents he had personally recruited had no way and no one to pass on their information to. So all those sources were lost. 5 years after his death, they were still rebuilding their spy network. No doubt they had missed a great deal that might have been useful, but they could do nothing about that. The door to his office opened without a knock and a blonde hurricane rushed in with a loud squeal. "Daddy!" Naruto shouted and ran over to his desk. Smiling, Minato scooped up his son and planted him on his lap. "Come to visit me today, Naruto?" "Yeah," he said excitedly. "Please forgive me, Naruto-sama." Kid entered and gave him a quick bow in apology. "He insisted on seeing you today." "No problem," Minato said with a grin. "You know I don't mind, he can see me whenever he wants." He looked at Naruto and gave the boy a conspiratorial wink. "It gives me an excuse not to work." The little boy began to laugh. "Sounds like you're starting to get kind of lazy, sensei." An ANBU with wild silver hair and a dog mask entered as well. Minato snorted. "It's not laziness, it's boredom. You tried doing paperwork 8 hours a day, Kakashi seemed to shudder. I think I'd rather try and assassinate that Sasuke. Minato nodded his agreement. So how is Naruto's training going? Though only 5, he had been studying taijutsu and basic weapons for over a year now. Kakashi had volunteered to instruct him between missions for the Black Ops. When Kakashi was away, Minato would usually train Naruto with a shadow clone. Not bad, Kakashi announced. As usual, he has boundless energy and isn't afraid to try anything. Of course, his attacks are too aggressive and sloppy most of the time. Hey! Naruto said with a pout. My attacks are good, sensei. For a 5-year-old they are, Kakashi agreed pleasantly. But not for the next Hokage. Naruto got a stubborn look on his face. I am going to be the next Hokage. And I'm going to be the best Hokage ever. I'm going to protect and take care of the village just like my daddy. Kakashi tilted his head a bit and had a huge smile beneath his mask. Then you'll need to improve your fighting style. Your dad was never sloppy. You never saw me when I was 5, Minato said with amusement. He looked at his son with a mix of pride and amusement. He'd explained to him once what it meant when people called him Hokage. Daddy, what's a Hokage? Well, son, the Hokage is the strongest ninja in the village, the one chosen to lead. It is his job to protect and guide the village and the people who live here. Naruto had looked up at him with wide eyes. So you protect everyone and keep them safe? Minato nodded. I try to, though protecting the village sometimes requires sacrifices. He thought not only of Jiraiya but of other lesser-known ninja who had given their lives in service to Konoha. That's what I'm going to do, Naruto shouted. I'm going to be Hokage and protect everyone. And I'll be the best Hokage ever. That's a fine goal, son, but being Hokage is very hard and requires a lot of sacrifices. You don't only have to be the best ninja in the village. You also have to be prepared to do whatever the village requires. That's what I'll do, Naruto said with absolute confidence. Minato looked at his son and knew there was no way he could understand just what being Hokage truly meant. The sacrifices it required. But for now, if that's what you want, then I'll help you get there. Really, Daddy? Of course, he smiled and patted his son's head. After all, parents always believe in their children. Minato wondered if Naruto would still want this once he got older and came to understand the price that the title came with it. He stood up and put Naruto up on his shoulders. It's about lunchtime. Let's go get something to eat. Ramen, Naruto said immediately. No ramen, Kid said sternly. It's not healthy to eat that too often. All, Naruto and Minato said in the same breath. 3 years later. Son, are you sure you want to wear that? Minato grinned. Absolutely. This way people will all know who I am. Naruto, you don't have to worry about being anonymous in this village. His son had on black pants with a black shirt with a gray trench coat. On the back of the trench coat Naruto had written in ink, Future Hokage. Naruto had actually asked if he could have a coat just like the one his father wore, but Minato had thought that a little much. Well, come on, son, let's go. Naruto looked up at his father and nodded. Thanks for bringing me, Dad. I'm afraid I can't do this all the time, but since this is your first day I'll make an exception. Outside the Namake's gate, Hinata waited nervously with her escort. Having grown up playing with Naruto and with her big brother Neji, she was eager to begin this new experience beside him. Having always had Naruto and Neji cheering for her and believing in her, she had grown strong and confident. Sparring and training with the two of them, she had pushed herself hard to keep up. Her father was not one to offer excessive praise, but he felt she would be a fine clan head one day. That's if I'm eligible to be clan head. I won't be if I marry into another clan. Of course, she already knew exactly who it was she wanted to marry. Picturing herself with Naruto-kun, she felt her face blush. She struggled to get that under control. She was a Hyuga and was supposed to always present a dignified face to the world. She still had memories of her mother who had passed away. Hinata wanted to be just like her, a beautiful, intelligent, capable woman who was always polite and well-mannered, but never ever superior. She was dressed in a white robe that was traditional for her clan and like the one her father wore. When she saw Naruto and his father appear, she managed not to blush. She offered a slight bow at their approach. Good morning, Minato-san. Good morning, Naruto-kun. Good morning, Hinata, Minato greeted. Hey, Hinata-chan. What do you think of my outfit? He actually did a twirl for her to show it off. She of course spotted the writing on the back. Naruto-kun, I think you need more modesty. What do you mean, Hinata-chan? He sounded upset. I have more modesty than anybody. Hinata put a hand over her mouth and giggled. She also made a mental note to explain to him later just what modesty meant. Kurenai had never met the Hokage before and bowed to him nervously. Good morning, Hokage-sama, he returned her bow. And good morning to you, Kurenai. Kurenai felt deeply honored that he would not only return her bow but had known her name. Now let's get going. We wouldn't want the kids late on their very first day to the academy. Hinata quickly slid her arm into Naruto's so that they would walk arm in arm. This was how they normally walked together. For Naruto, it was simply a habit that he shared with the girl he was closest to. For her, it was the proper way to walk with someone who was your significant other. She understood that Naruto did not see her as anything other than a friend. But she didn't mind so long as he didn't see any other girl that way either. That thought made her frown. I wonder if she will be in our class. As they walked through the streets, a two-man ANBU squad followed silently from the rooftops. Not that it seemed likely that there would be trouble. As the group walked along, people shouted and bowed, cried out wishes for long life and health. Wherever Minato went in the village, he was greeted with adoration. The people of Konoha saw him not simply as their ruler but as their hero. Naruto saw how people looked at his father. The love that was there whenever he went out. That was what he wanted. He wanted the people to love him as they loved his father. Ino was pacing in the courtyard. Where is he? Sakura looked on with annoyance. It's still early, you're worried over nothing. Why is this such a big deal anyway? You saw him just a couple days ago. This is the first day of our ninja careers. Well, it is for him and me, you'll probably drop out. Hey! Sakura shouted angrily. But it's really important how we begin our time here together. I want him to see me for the amazing girl I am. I'd give up on that, Ino, a lazy voice said from behind her. At least until you learn how to perform a henge. Shut up, you lazy jerk. Ino smacked Shikamaru in the back of the head to reinforce how she felt. But why are you so worried? Chuji asked between handfuls of chips. We're all good friends. That was true. Kid would take Naruto to the park regularly to play with other children. They had all known each other for what seemed like forever. They'd all been to each other's birthday parties and gotten to know each other well. As friends, I don't want Naruto-kun to see me as just a playmate anymore. I want him to see the real me. Shikamaru lifted one eyebrow. Won't that make him want to stay away from you? Shut up. She bopped him on the head and Shika went down. As he was slowly getting up, they all heard a commotion. Looking around, Ino spotted the Hokage along with his son and another ninja she hadn't seen before. Naruto was here, and he had her clinging to him. Most of the children had never met the Hokage before, so they crowded around him pleading for his attention. Meanwhile, Naruto had spotted them and come over to say hi. As they approached, Ino glared at her rival. Hinata stared right back at her and held on to Naruto just a little tighter. Hey Sakura-chan, Ino-chan, Chuji, and Shikamaru, are you okay? Fine, he said as he rubbed the top of his head. I was just attacked by a harpy. I'm used to it though. Huh! Ino sent him a dangerous look. Nothing, Shikamaru muttered. Oh Naruto-kun. Ino squealed. I just love your outfit, especially the coat. I love your self-confidence. Thanks, Naruto smiled and rubbed the back of his head. Hinata-chan thinks I need to be more modest. Well, what does she know? Ino said gleefully. I know how to tell Naruto-kun my honest opinion rather than just spewing whatever I think he wants to hear, Hinata said coolly. Ino stared at her. I just like showing him I support him. Hinata stared back placidly. I like giving him help when I think he needs it. Blue eyes were locked onto lavender ones with either about to look away. Naruto sighed. I wish you two would learn to get along. Come on Hinata-chan, let's head in. Yes Naruto-kun, Hinata replied and went in with him arm in arm as Ino was forced to watch. Inside the classroom, a certain dark-haired boy was already seated. He watched as Naruto entered with Hinata, followed shortly by his playmates Sakura, Ino, Chuji, and Shikamaru. The two of them had never met, but he knew Naruto by sight, as did everyone else in the village. You must be better than him, Sasuke. His father had told him. I want you to show the village the strength of our clan by being his superior. As Naruto walked past, Sasuke picked his moment and spoke up. So you're the Kyuubi? Naruto froze, and everyone else looked at him and at Sasuke nervously. Naruto slowly turned to look at the other boy. No, I'm the Kyuubi's jailer. He had always known what was inside of him, it was no secret. Since being little, his father had told him the story of the heroic Jiraiya and of the events of that night. Jiraiya had made a sacrifice to save not only the village but his dad. That was what had made him a hero. Now he had to make a sacrifice to protect everyone just like Jiraiya had, which meant he was a hero too. His father had always made that point very clear to him. As such, Naruto had never once seen anything wrong or shameful about being the Kyuubi's container. On the contrary, he took pride in knowing what he was doing to protect everyone. My dad didn't agree with the decision the Hokage made. Naruto slowly grinned at him. I guess that means you're Uchiha Sasuke, right? My dad told me what your dad thought. You're just lucky your father was the Hokage, otherwise you wouldn't be here now. Is that supposed to mean if some other baby had been used he would have had him killed? You really don't know my father, do you? Come on Naruto, let's take our seats. Hinata encouraged and was able to lead him up the steps and past the other boy. The others went as well except for Sakura, who held back a bit. That was mean, Sasuke-kun, she said quietly. He shrugged. It was the truth. Looking a little sad, Sakura went off to find a seat near her friends. Unknown to the children, both Irika and Mizuki had witnessed the small altercation. I think this is going to be a long 4 years, Irika sighed. Mizuki did not disagree. They were a week into their second semester at the academy, and Sakura was again wondering if she really belonged. Her grades for the first semester had been disappointing. More than any other institution in Konoha, the academy was obsessed with ranks and standings. The students were constantly reminded that they were all in competition, and the competition was on completely even ground. Clans and social status had nothing to do with it. And yet, she glanced down the lunch table at Naruto. As always, Hinata was sitting in his right and Ino was on his left. The two girls were fierce rivals for his attention. Even though Naruto got no special privileges for being the Hokage's son, he was still head and shoulders above everyone else in the class. He was number one in academics as well as in physical training. Half their training involved physical activity, and every Friday there would be spars. Every student had to fight every other, boys fought against girls and friends fought each other as well. Every match had to be fought to a conclusion with someone winning and someone losing. Mizuki Sensei would get very upset if he suspected anyone holding back. The spars were viewed as a good way to judge the potential fighting ability of the students. So far Naruto was undefeated. His record was a perfect 87-0. She'd faced him 3 times and he had knocked her unconscious in less than 10 seconds each time. He always took care not to hurt her, but she understood that in real battle she would be killed quickly. Her record in the spars was 15-72, putting her near the bottom. Fortunately, she had a sharp mind and was near the top in academics. But with her poor showing in spars as well as in weapons training and physical endurance, her class rank had been 17 out of 30. She was struggling just to stay in the middle of the pack. She was painfully aware that of her group of friends she was the only one who was not from a ninja clan. Along with Naruto, Hinata with her gentle fist was 79-8, and clearly the strongest girl in class. Her class rank was 3. All the ranks were posted on a bulletin board to help encourage competition. People were all saying she was a powerful Hyuga, just like her cousin Neji, who was in the class 1 year ahead. Neji sometimes joined them for lunch. Hinata and Naruto seemed very close. Then there was Ino. Her class rank was 7. Her fighting style was nowhere near as advanced as Hinata's, but she had a toughness to her that Sakura knew she lacked. Chuji was 18, 1 spot below her, but she got the sense that his problem was a lack of killer instinct rather than a real lack of talent. Shikamaru was 29 out of 30 and didn't seem to care. Of all the students, he had the least motivation and energy. Yet even he seemed to do well when he tried a little. All of them were from Konoha's clans, and she wondered if she belonged with them. Everyone knew she was Ino's tag-along. Ino had found her crying and taken pity on her and brought into the circle of her friends. But even though Ino liked her and was a friend, she never pretended to see her as any sort of rival like she did Hinata. Sakura wondered why she tried so hard if she was never going to be anything but the weak tag-along. "Is something wrong, Sakura-chan?" Naruto asked. "You seem kind of down." "Oh, she's probably just upset because Sasuke doesn't even know she's alive," Ino said. "Shut up," Sakura snapped. "That's not so." "Oh, who are you trying to kid?" Ino asked. "Everyone knows you like him, even though he has zero interest in you." "There's nothing wrong with liking someone, Sakura-chan," Hinata put in. "If you like Sasuke, you shouldn't give up on him even if he doesn't realize your feelings." She gave Naruto half a glance. "That's right, Sakura-chan, even if he is a jerk, it's cool if you like him," Naruto said. "That's not nice, Naruto-kun," Hinata chided. "What?" he asked questioningly. "I'm being supportive." Sakura tuned out the rest of the conversation as Ino started trying to one-up Hinata, as she usually did. She looked across the cafeteria to where Sasuke was sitting with a couple other students. Even if he and Naruto did not get along, she still liked him. She liked his smile and his confidence. She didn't know why, but he had always been the boy she liked. He was ranked number 2 and saw himself as Naruto's rival. Naruto saw him as an annoyance, which only made Sasuke that much more furious. As for Sasuke not knowing her feelings, well, her friends had that much wrong. He did know about them. Flashback. She had caught him alone on his way back from class one day and mustered up the courage to tell him how she really felt. "Sasuke-kun, I really like you. Can we please be friends?" He had stopped, and he had looked at her. She had known enough to recognize the look in his eyes as pity. "I'm very sorry, Sakura, but you're just not good enough." And then he had walked away. With just those handful of words, all her self-doubt came crashing down on her. Maybe she really wasn't good enough. "I'm going to quit," she said in a small voice. What did you say?" Ino asked, suddenly startled out of her usual banter with Hinata. "I said I'm going to quit," Sakura spoke in a more forceful tone. "Why should I continue when it's obvious I'm never going to be anything but a weakling?" "But you're not weak, Sakura-chan," Hinata insisted. "You can't just give up." "Mouse is right," Ino said, earning a glare from Hinata. "Even if you are weak, you can't just give up." "That's right," Chuji said between bites. "It would be really troublesome if we had to find a new friend," Shikamaru added. "It doesn't matter," Sakura said. "I'm a weakling. What's the use when I'm so weak?" "If you don't want to be weak, then do something about it," Naruto said. "That's easy for you to say, Naruto, you're already strong," she said. "Sakura-chan, how do you think I got strong?" "I had to work at it. When I go home I train, and I train on weekends," Naruto told her. "If you want to be strong, you have to make a commitment and work. There are no shortcuts. Or you can be lazy and not care," Shikamaru offered. Hinata ignored him and spoke up. "Naruto-kun is right. My fighting ability is the result of endless hours of hard training and sparring. But you have the Byakugan, you have a bloodline. My Byakugan would not help me if I were not well trained in gentle fist. Without my training I would not be able to crush Ino the way I do." Hinata was 3-0, all the spars ending in under a minute. "Hey!" Ino snapped. "I don't have a bloodline," Naruto said. And my huge chakra reserves aren't any use while I use taijutsu. My fighting skill is from nothing but hard work and training. He gave her a big smile. Why don't you come and train with me? I guarantee me and my dad can help you get strong. She stared at him. You'd let me train with your father, the Lord Hokage? The strongest ninja in the history of the village? Sure, Sakura-chan, he said easily. I know Dad won't mind if it's to help a friend. Oh, okay, if it's really alright. She was suddenly feeling a lot better about herself. Just as class was winding down, an ANBU came and had a whispered conversation with Irika-sensei. What? Irika said in surprise. The ANBU whispered some more and Irika slowly nodded. The ANBU then left, and Irika turned to the class. Class, we're going to do some special training today. Is this going to be quick? Shikamaru spoke up. Class is over in 20 minutes. Actually all the students will be staying in the academy overnight. What? Did Irika just say? I'll miss dinner. Mom will kill me. The students were all muttering confused. Irika waved his hands about until they finally quieted. There's no need for any of you to worry. All your families are being informed about the extended training session. We'll be providing all of you sleeping bags and field rations. It'll be a taste of what ninja do in the field while on a real mission. The students were still muttering. Also, since you'll be here all night, there will be no class tomorrow. The idea of no class improved some of the outlooks. The students began to think it might be sort of fun. I think something bad is going on, Naruto said quietly. What do you mean, Naruto-kun? Hinata asked. Naruto looked at her. Though still a child, his dad had taught him about looking underneath the underneath. The key was to really pay attention to the clues around you and to think about them logically. He leaned close to Hinata and whispered to her. This wasn't planned, Hinata-chan. This training session wasn't the teacher's idea. That ANBU came here to pass on orders that the students be kept here overnight. Why would they do that? Hinata asked. Naruto shrugged. No idea, except something bad is going to happen and they want to keep us all safe. Fugaku was pleased to see well over 100 ninja present. He would have been even happier if the only people missing were not Itachi and his best friend Shursui, who he had asked to watch him. His oldest son had been acting a bit erratically lately and Fugaku was growing concerned. But except for them, every Uchiha ninja active or retired was present for this final meeting. As all of you know, Fugaku spoke. It is well past the time that our clan took what was rightfully ours. There was loud applause and shouts of agreement. That was when the doors of the hall were kicked down. The Uchihas all jumped to their feet as ANBU poured in with weapons at the ready. They quickly found themselves surrounded by more than 300 ANBU. What is rightfully yours? An angry voice called from the main doorway. In strode the yandame. He wasn't in his ceremonial robes, he had on the familiar trench coat, dark pants, and jonin vest that he wore to battle. And do you think the whole village is rightfully yours? Hokage-sama, what is the meaning of this? Please don't bother to play the innocent Fugaku, Minato told him. I know about your little plot. Even as we speak, your allies are being arrested. They'll stand trial and be executed. But I can't take that risk with you, Uchiha, that would be too dangerous. What is it you intend to do? Fugaku asked. I had actually considered killing the entire adult population in the Uchiha compound and wiping out the clan except for the children. However, I'll spare the civilians even though they knew about the plot. They're no threat after all. But I will strip the Uchiha of clan status for this, and your name will be a disgrace. As for all of you ninja, I sentence you to death for conspiracy to commit treason and murder. Sentence to be carried out immediately. The ANBU let fly with hundreds of trichinae. These all missed as the Uchiha ninja were able to dodge them with ease. But they were not meant to kill, only to fill the hall with seals. The yandame would do the killing, Hiraition no Jutsu. He vanished in a yellow flash and the traitors in the hall began to die. It was over in seconds. On the roof of a nearby building, an ANBU with a raven's mask waited in silence. When he saw his Hokage appeared before him drenched in blood, he knew. It's over, Itachi, thanks to you. I take no pride in this, Itachi replied. The thought he had caused so many of his kin to be slaughtered sickened him. He had even been forced to kill his best friend in order to alert the Hokage. I didn't think you would, Minato replied. But you did what you had to, and for that you have my thanks. You will honor your word, Hokage-sama? Itachi asked. The civilians and students will be spared. My mother, my brother, my cousin? I was never one for pointless slaughter, Itachi. Minato replied. No one else has to die, but the entire clan will be punished for this. I will strip away clan status and confiscate all the lands that the first Hokage gave the Uchiha. I expect come tomorrow the Uchiha will be hated and despised. Itachi could only nod. Given what my father attempted, that seems only fitting. But I thank you for sparing those you could, Hokage-sama. A week had passed since that night. And in that short time Sasuke had watched his whole world come crashing down. Everything he had ever believed was suddenly a lie. Flashback. I don't believe you! Sasuke screamed. Along with his mother and older brother, his 11-year-old cousin Hisa was there too. She was quietly sobbing. Having lost her father, she was now an orphan. His mom had invited her to come stay with them. It is true, Sasuke, Itachi said calmly. He was still dressed in his ANBU uniform. Father was planning a coup attempt. Every adult in the clan, ninja and civilian, knew about it. That is the reason father, and the others were killed. It's true, Mikoto said softly and lowered her head in shame. Your father felt our clan should rule the village, and so he plotted treason. We intended to betray the village, to our eternal shame. Sasuke stared at his broken mother. He might call his brother a liar, but he couldn't believe Kazan would ever lie about something like this. Father was a traitor? His father was his role model. He represented everything that was just and noble about their great clan. Everyone was a traitor, Sasuke, Itachi said coldly. Had you been a few years older you would have been involved as well. Why are you alive, Aniki? Sasuke demanded. Father and uncle and every other ninja of the clan are dead except for you. How come? As he asked that, Mikoto began to silently weep. I am alive because I was the one to inform the Hokage of father's plot. Itachi replied coolly. Sasuke gasped and pointed an accusing finger at his revered older brother. You betrayed father and the clan? You're a traitor, Itachi answered the accusation with a passionless stare. No, I kept my oath to my Hokage and my village by doing my duty as a leaf ninja and an ANBU. I discovered a treasonous plot and reported it. It is only because I was loyal that the Hokage agreed to spare the civilian adults, though they are just as guilty as the ninja. What are you proud of what you did? Sasuke accused. No, I take no satisfaction in anything that has happened. But I did what was right, my conscience is clean, Sasuke. Sasuke didn't know what to say. All his life he had admired his older brother and longed to win his father's approval. Now father was dead, killed by the Hokage's own hand. His death a disgraceful one. And his brother was the one who had caused it all. You shouldn't have said anything, Sasuke snapped. You should have been loyal to father and to the clan. Sasuke, don't say that. Mikoto looked nervously between her two sons. Do you realize, Sasuke, that you have just committed treason? Itachi said as calm as always. Maybe you should kill me then? That is your duty, right? Itachi looked at him coldly. I will forget what you said this once, but never say anything like that again. He turned around and left the room. Sasuke, I beg you, don't do anything to cause trouble. His mother pleaded. I couldn't bear to lose you too. Sasuke looked at her but said nothing. Sasuke answered when there was a knock at the door. He frowned to see 3 ANBU standing there. What the hell do you want? Watch your mouth, traitor, one of the ANBU answered. Except for Itachi, every last one of you Uchiha are scum. Sasuke gaped at him. No one had ever talked to him like that. Do you know who I am? Sasuke said angrily. Yeah, you're a traitor and the son of traitors. The ANBU tossed a letter at him from a stack he had in his hands. Give that to your mother, you've been served. The ANBU then proceeded to the next house. Mikoto was reading the letter the ANBU had delivered. It's a formal notice that we no longer own this house or any other property in the compound. If we want to keep living here we will have to start paying rent. They can't do that. My great-grandfather built this house. It's been ours for as long as there's been a village. The Hokage can do whatever he wants, son, Mikoto explained patiently. All the land in the compound was given to the clan on condition we live in the village and serve it faithfully. When we broke our part of that bargain we lost all claim to this land. She sighed. Not only that, we are no longer a clan in the eyes of the village. We will no longer have our seat on the council or our special rights. All the funds in the clan treasury have also been confiscated as punishment. So they say our house isn't ours and then they rob us too? Sasuke said furiously. The Hokage has no right to do any of this. He does, son, Mikoto told him. Son, we are not being wrongfully persecuted. I know you don't want to hear this, but the fact is we are guilty. By law the Hokage would have been within his rights to have killed everyone who knew of the plot, and failed to report it. That includes me and all your aunts and uncles who are still alive. Anything the Hokage does short of that is a mercy, no matter how it seems. I won't accept that. You're going to have to, Sasuke, Mikoto told him gently. Part of being an adult is seeing the world as it is, and not as we would like it to be. The bodies of those killed in the revolt were returned to the families. There was a quiet and solemn memorial service attended only by family members. Friends of the clan did not want to be seen mourning the deaths of traitors. Mikoto had decided it would be best to keep Sasuke and Hisa home from school for a week to let some of the passions cool down on both sides. While he was home he heard some explosions coming from nearby. Sasuke joined a small crowd at the edge of the compound. They were watching a group of 20 ninja working on the wall that separated the Uchiha compound from the rest of the village. Most of them just made sure to keep people a safe distance, as 2 others placed a few explosive notes along the base of the wall. The 2 of them backed away. Clear! One shouted once they were a safe distance, the other nodded. Fire in the hole! He shouted. The notes then went off with a carefully controlled explosion. A section of the wall about 15 feet long blew up and was reduced to rubble. What's going on here? Sasuke demanded. What do you think you're doing? One of the ninja dealing with keeping people a safe distance looked at him dismissively. It's the Hokage's orders. This wall is to come down immediately. It's about time you damn Uchihas learned you're part of the village and not separate from it. You can't do this. You have no right. Sasuke tried to push his way past. He was completely surprised when a fist smashed his face. He found himself on the ground with a bloody nose. You damn Uchihas and your damn rights. The ninja shouted furiously. It's time you learn that your rights aren't shit anymore. You damn pack of traitors are just lucky the Hokage is as merciful as he is. Get it through those thick skulls you're not on top anymore. Now get out of here before I arrest you and haul your ass in. Sasuke got up to his feet. The taste of blood and bitter humiliation were in his mouth. As he walked back to the crowd, people quickly gathered around to help him, and tell him they were proud of his courage. The fact that at least his clan still cared for him was his only consolation. Where are you going, scum? You filthy pig, dirty traitor. Sasuke was walking to class after a week. Before this day, he had always received greetings and polite nods from the people along the way. Sometimes grocers or bakers would even come up to him with a tasty treat. He had never thought twice about it. He had just assumed that was how things were supposed to be. Now those very same people were pouring their abuse at him. His mother had tried to get him to wear a different set of clothes and to go to the academy by a different route. He'd refused. He was Uchiha Sasuke, proud son of Uchiha Fugaku, and he was damned if he would pretend to be anything less. He had put on his shorts and dark blue jacket and left the now wall-less compound with his head held high. Walking from his house through the compound, everything had been normal. His clansmen had all wished him well and told him how proud they all were of him, but the moment he left the compound, everything changed. Even at the shouts of abuse, he held his head high and refused to hurry. He walked at his usual pace even when small rocks or pieces of rotted fruit were thrown at him. His cousin had worn different clothing and left 20 minutes early by a different route. He didn't blame her for that. If she wanted to keep a low profile, he would not hold it against her. After all, now more than ever all the Uchiha needed to stick together. When he reached the academy, his head was still unbowed and his face was locked into a grim visage. His jacket and shorts were covered with stains from things thrown at him, but he refused to acknowledge any of it. As he entered the courtyard, though, he saw the way the kids were looking at him. Obviously the opinions of their parents had been passed along. Well, look what we have here, a dirty traitor. A fourth-year student Sasuke didn't know said. Almost as if by magic, Sasuke was surrounded by a menacing crowd of older students. Sasuke looked directly at the loud-mouthed boy in front of him, ignoring all the others. Get out of my way, he said calmly. The boy looked unbelieving. What did you just say to me, traitor? I said get out of my way, Sasuke replied. Will you listen to the almighty Uchiha? The boy mocked. What are you going to do if I don't get out of your way? I'll just have to go through you, Sasuke replied and readied himself. There was no way he could deal with all of them, but the jerk in front of him was going to regret what he'd said. Before the older boy could reply, he was shoved to the side. Is there a problem here? Naruto asked coldly. Standing right behind him were Hinata and Neji. Both had the Byakugan active and were looking very intimidating. Sasuke is a student, and has every right to be here. Seeing who it was, the older boys all quickly nodded their agreement and dispersed. Naruto looked over at Sasuke. You okay? I didn't need your help, Sasuke answered tightly. That's not how it looked to us, Neji said with a grin. Sasuke ignored him and instead focused on Naruto. I don't need any help from the son of the man who killed my father. Naruto felt his jaw tighten. What my dad did was justice. I'm sorry for your loss, Sasuke, but I don't apologize for it. Sasuke glared at him murderously. I'm going to surpass you, and when I do, I'll show everyone in this village just how great my clan is. What clan? Neji said innocently. Neji! Hinata chided. Sorry, he mumbled. To Sasuke's utter irritation, Naruto grinned at him. Good, do your absolute best. Angrily, Sasuke walked straight ahead, forcing Naruto to step out of his way. Pleasant guy, Neji said. He has suffered a lot, it can't be easy for him, Hinata said. She looked nervously over at Naruto. I think he really hates you, Naruto. I felt killer intent from him just now. Yes, so did I, Naruto said. But what can I do about it? I mean, if I try and be friends with him, it will probably only make him hate me more. At least if he only hates me, it will help him focus and deal with things. Honestly, I feel sorry for him, Hinata sighed. The whole situation was a mess. They would have to deal with it as best they could. Sakura tripped and fell. Lying on the dirt trail, she panted and struggled to get up. She was drenched in sweat and completely wiped out. Ugh. The others are having no problem. Am I really so much weaker? Are you alright, Sakura? Naruto asked. When he had noticed she wasn't with them, he had come back to check on her, and when he turned around, the others had too. Let me help you up, Sakura-chan, Hinata said with a gentle smile and got her back to her feet. If you wanted to take a nap, you should have said so, Neji said with a smirk. When the Hokage came to check on her, she looked down, feeling embarrassed. It was bad enough coming off as weak in front of her teammates, but doing so in front of the Great Yellow Flash was humiliating. The Hokage squatted down to put himself at eye level with her. He was dressed in plain gray sweats and had an easy, friendly smile. He saw the way she was breathing hard and how her legs trembled. How are you feeling, Sakura? I'm fine, Hokage-sama. I'm very sorry for interrupting the workout. Laughing a bit, he reached out and patted her head. No problem. I think you've done enough for today, though. He looked at his son and the other children, the three of them often trained together. Why don't you go on and I'll bring Sakura back to the house? Okay, Dad, Naruto said and bolted. Race you to the practice ground, cheater. Niji shouted and ran after him. Hinata shook her head and chased after both of them. Once they were out of sight, he picked up Sakura in his arms and began carrying her back to the mansion. You rest for a while, have some water and rehydrate, she blushed. The Hokage of Konoha was carrying her and telling her to rest. I am so sorry, Hokage-sama. I shouldn't have come here. He looked at the little girl. All right, first there's no need for you to address me as Hokage right now. Do I look like I'm wearing my robes? Second, there's no need to be upset. You are more than welcome here and you are not causing me any trouble at all. After all, he gave her a reassuring grin. My job is to take care of all the people in this village, so helping you is no problem. Naruto wants to help you become a great ninja and so do I, but I can't keep up with him. She felt on the verge of tears. That's not the point, Sakura, he told her quietly. The point is to always do your best. Naruto, Niji, and Hinata have been doing this level of physical training for years now. You shouldn't compare yourself to them, that's not a fair comparison. It would be like trying to compare your abilities to mine or any other ninjas. I guess that makes sense, he nodded approvingly. Instead, compare where you are now to where you were before. Have you improved yourself? That is the only comparison that you need to worry about, but I'm slowing everyone down. This isn't combat, Sakura, he told her kindly. It's training. The point is to help everyone get stronger. You aren't holding anyone back, I promise. Just do the best you can and I'll help you as much as I can. How's that sound? She slowly nodded. I promise to do my best, Hokage-sama. Over time, Sakura did begin to improve. Even Ino started to notice. Sasuke also improved. He worked very hard to build up his skills and physical strength. He was consumed by the single-minded desire to get stronger. But no matter how hard he worked, he could not seem to close the gap between himself and Naruto. He lost every spar against him. He could beat everyone else, including Hinata, but not Naruto. No matter how he worked at it, he remained number 2. While in class, he deliberately separated himself from his classmates. He insisted on wearing the same blue jacket with the large Uchiha symbol emblazoned on it. No matter how much anger or abuse it brought down on his head, he refused to change. He kept his pride in his name and family, and the more people condemned, the stronger he held on to it. He isolated himself from everyone except his family members. In school, everyone admired and respected his skills, but no one really liked him anymore, except for one person. As he was heading home, Sasuke spotted Sakura there waiting for him. What do you want, Sakura? He did not stop to talk to her but continued on his way. She was forced to fall into step beside him. My birthday is next Wednesday, would you like to come? She asked him hopefully. No, he answered and kept walking. She followed him, refusing to just give up. She was nothing if not persistent. It'll be a lot of fun. There's going to be music and dancing and party games. And you don't have to bring me a present if you don't want to. Sasuke thought of something and stopped. Okay, really? She said excitedly. She hadn't thought he would ever say yes. She'd been trying to get him to be friends with her, but every effort always got rejected. But there's one condition, he told her. Anything, Sasuke. You can't invite Naruto. What do you mean? I mean just what I said, I'll come but only if you don't invite Naruto. But he's a close friend of mine. It's thanks to training with him that I've gotten so much stronger. In her class she was now ranked 8th, one spot behind Ino. She was considered the 3rd strongest girl in class. I've already invited him and he's said yes. Then uninvite him, Sasuke said coldly. Sakura looked at him with sad eyes. I can't do that. I won't do that. Then I guess I won't be coming to your dumb party. He began to walk away. Why do you have to be this way? Naruto doesn't have anything against you. I have something against him, he muttered as he went. Sakura stood where she was and watched him go. She still cared for him, but after that she stopped asking him to become friends with her. She was not willing to pay the price his friendship would cost. The 4 years of the academy passed in relative peace. Led by her great Hokage and secure in her alliances, Konoha was recognized as the strongest of the great ninja villages and prospered. Clients from all over the elemental land sought out Leaf Ninja for the most difficult and highest-paying contracts. The last day of class finally came. Naruto entered room 101 where Iruka and Mizuki were both seated behind a desk covered in leaf Hittites. Hello Naruto, Iruka said pleasantly. This is the final part of the graduation test. Please make 3 clones for us. Hi sensei, he ran through the hand signs with barely a thought. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. With a puff of smoke 3 copies of him appeared. Mizuki nodded and wrote something down on a clipboard. Perfect, as I would expect from our Rookie of the Year. Iruka nodded. The test was really just a formality. Only a very weak ninja could fail it. Congratulations Naruto. You are now officially a genin and an adult of this village. Please take a Hittite. Naruto eagerly snatched one up and tied it around his forehead. He then turned to his 2 teachers and bowed to each of them. Thank you for all your help and instruction, Iruka-sensei, Mizuki-sensei. Both instructors nodded in return. Please send Hinata in next. Iruka instructed. When Naruto returned to the main classroom, people simply nodded to him. A few called congratulations. It was not that big a deal as everyone had known he would pass easily. You're up Hinata, he called. Okay, she got up and they passed. Congratulations on passing Naruto. Before he knew it, she leaned up and planted a quick kiss on his cheek, while he stared at his best friend wondering why she had just done that. Hey! Ino barked. What's the big idea kissing him? What? Hinata said innocently. It's just a nice way to say, congratulations. You don't mind, do you, Naruto-kun? No, of course not. By the way, Naruto-kun, you're blushing. Hinata hurried past him with a happy smile planted on her face. When class let out, many of the parents were outside waiting to congratulate their children. Among them were Hayashi and the Hokage in his robes of state. Hayashi looked at his daughter. She was dressed in her usual all-black outfit with her hitai around her neck. Well done, Hinata, Hayashi said. He had on a very slight grin. For him this was a huge emotional display. I am pleased with you. Thank you, father, Hinata said with a confident grin. She knew her father was really happy even if he did not like to show it. Good going, son, Minato said happily and rubbed the top of his head. Thanks, Dad. Naruto had a huge smile on his face. Now I'm one step closer to being Hokage. Minato had a good laugh. Easy, son. There's still a long way to go. Across the courtyard, Sasuke looked on as he was with his mom and cousin Hisa. She was a genin now and had been for 3 years. She had managed to activate her Sharingan about 6 months ago. Itachi was out of the village on a mission. Sasuke didn't mind as he and his brother were not as close as they had been. I am very proud of you, son. His mother gave him a kiss on the cheek. He would have preferred she not do that in public, but he would never complain and hurt her feelings. Thank you, Mom, that means a lot to me. With his family, he was willing to show feelings. Nice going, Sasuke, Hisa said. Now we have one more ninja in the family. He nodded to her. He really liked Hisa. She had a very different personality from his. She was much more easygoing and willing to show her emotions. But unlike his brother, she had worked with him and helped him train. And unlike his brother, she was no traitor to the clan. Thanks, Hisa. I'm going to try to work hard and impress the village. Even now, in a moment that should have been joyous, he was not allowed to forget their low station in the village. People kept a safe distance from them, as though afraid what they had might be contagious. He caught some of the looks the adults were sending him and his loved ones. Let's go home, he encouraged. I don't want to be here another minute. Minato and Naruto were both seated at the dinner table with eager looks. Keith came out of the kitchen with 2 large steaming bowls on a tray. Congratulations, Naruto, on your becoming a ninja. I and the entire staff are very proud of you. As Keith set down the bowls, they both had the same reaction. Yay! Ramen! Keith turned back towards the kitchen with an amused look on her face to get the seconds ready. Having both stuffed themselves with the best ramen in the village, Naruto looked at his father. So, Dad, who's going to be in my squad? Minato looked back in innocent surprise. How would I know? Naruto frowned. Didn't you pick who would be on my team? Of course not, son. That's not my job. It falls on the senior instructor to select the squads. Iruka will be the one to decide that. What? You mean you don't know who my team will be? But what if none of my friends are on it? What if Hinata-chan isn't on it? Oh, is that important to you? Minato asked with an inquisitive grin. Being on a team with Hinata? Sure it is. She's my closest friend. He thought about it. You can order Iruka to put her on my team, right? Minato shook his head. Naruto, I am shocked you would even suggest that. Is that the sort of thing a Hokage should do? Take advantage of his position just to please his child? But, Naruto, I would never order Iruka to place Hinata on your team. I see. Naruto put his head down despondently. Minato managed to keep a smile from appearing on his lips. Yesterday, Iruka was not too surprised to be called to the tower to meet with the Hokage. How can I be of service, Hokage-sama? Iruka asked. As if I didn't already know. Minato gave the teacher an easy smile. I'd like to request that Hinata and Naruto be on the same squad. Yes, Hokage-sama, Iruka answered. This isn't an order, he clarified. I would never order you to do something like that. This is just a request from a parent of one of your students. I understand, Hokage-sama. Hinata was looking over at him. His hand was tapping the top of the desk in a continuous rapid pace. It was rare to ever see him nervous. Naruto was nothing if not confident. Will you relax, Naruto-kun? There's nothing to be nervous about, but I can't help it, Hinata-chan, he told her. My dad said he has no idea who my teammates will be. What happens if we end up separated? I'm sure that won't happen, Naruto. Hinata placed a hand on his to try and reassure him. My father seems to take it for granted we will be on the same squad. Naruto looked at her hopefully. Does your father know what the assignments are? Well, no, but he doesn't think there's any way we won't be together. Naruto lowered his head to his desk. I'm doomed. Grinning, Hinata patted her head. She really wasn't worried about it. The Hokage had told her father he couldn't imagine the two of them not working together. That was assurance enough for her. It also made her happy to see how important she was to him. Don't worry, Naruto, Ino called out. I'm sure we'll be together. Hinata smiled sweetly. Only in your dreams? Hey! All the conversations quieted down as Iruka and Mizuki entered the room. Iruka was holding a clipboard as he came to stand in front of the class with Mizuki a couple steps behind. Well, class, this is the beginning of your ninja careers. It has been a privilege for both me and for Mizuki-sensei to have taught you all, and watched you grow into capable young shinobi. I have no doubt each and every one of you will go on to serve Konoha and make the village proud. Iruka announced. I know you're all very anxious, so I will read out the assignments. Once that's done, you are free to go and have lunch for an hour. Then please return here to meet with your senseis. Iruka began to announce the teams and their senseis. As each set of names was announced, Naruto's hopes and anxieties both rose. Each set of names meant it was more likely he and Hinata would end up together. But until he knew for sure, he couldn't relax. Finally, Team 7 will be Namake's Naruto, Hyuga Hinata, and Inuzuka Kiba. Yes. Naruto cried out joyously. See, I told you there was nothing to worry about, Hinata said. Team 7's Jonin sensei will be Hatake Kakashi. Alright. Naruto said happily. I train with Kakashi all the time, this is going to be a breeze. Iruka continued on, announcing that Sasuke and Sakura would be on Team 8 with Shino. Sakura looked nervously in Sasuke's direction. He didn't show much reaction to the announcement one way or the other. Yuhi Kurinai would be their sensei. The 10th and final team would be the latest incarnation of the Shiki Inocho alliance. The news did not make Ino happy as she groaned about karma and buried her head in her hands. For the record, Shikamaru and Chuji did not look especially happy either. Once they were dismissed for lunch, Naruto and Hinata approached Kiba, whose little dog was perched on his head. Hey Kiba, looks like we're going to be teammates. How about we all get to know one another over some ramen? It'll be my treat. Akamaru barked his approval and he nodded. Sounds good. I never pass up the chance to get some free food. So together Team 7 left the classroom. Sakura quietly approached Sasuke. Sasuke, since we're going to be a team, I thought maybe we should all get something to eat. Neither of us really knows Shino that well and he doesn't know us. This would be a good way to get to know one another. He turned to look at her. She more than half expected some kind of rude remark followed by his walking out. Alright, let's have lunch. Really? Sasuke nodded. Like you said, we're a team now. We'll need to work together, so we may as well start now. Smiling, she nodded. Maybe being teammates would allow them to finally get close. After a good meal at Ichiraka's, Team 7 returned. They were forced to sit there and watch as 9 other senseis came and collected their teams. They were soon the only ones left in the classroom. Naruto got up out of his seat and went over to the chalkboard. He took a piece of chalk and wrote a message out on the board. We're at the mansion, sensei. Team 7. Okay, let's go, Naruto said. Go where? Kiba asked, confused. Aren't we supposed to stay here until our sensei arrives? He won't be here for another 2 hours, Naruto said with certainty. And how could you know that? Kiba asked. Because I know him. Kakashi was my dad's student and he's been my part-time instructor since I was 4. Naruto said. He is always 2 hours late to everything but missions. If my dad wants to meet him at 1, he has to schedule the meeting for 11. Trust me, he won't be here in less than 2 hours. We'd be better off spending that time at my home planning. Planning? Planning for what, Naruto-kun? Hinata asked in surprise. The genin exam, of course, Naruto said nonchalantly. A little more than 2 hours later, Kakashi arrived at the Namake's mansion to find his team lounging about relaxing. Kakashi tried to put out an angry presence, but it didn't seem to work. Naruto looked at Kiba and held out his hand. See, I told you he'd be more than 2 hours late. Yeah, fine, here, Kiba grumbled as he handed over some Ryu notes to Naruto. Naruto, don't tell me you were betting on me being late, Kakashi said. Come on, sensei. How often does a guy get to bet on a sure thing? Kakashi's sweat dropped. Why were you so late, sensei? Hinata asked. Well, there was this little old lady who needed to cross a couple dozen streets, and I felt I should help her. Grinning, Naruto turned to Hinata and put out his hand. See, I told you he'd make up a ridiculous story about why he was late. Sighing, Hinata took out some Ryu notes. Here, Naruto-kun. Kakashi's sweat dropped again. I'm losing a lot of face here. Okay, let's try this again. For those of you I haven't gotten to know, I am Hatake Kakashi, your new sensei. Why don't we introduce ourselves? Give me an idea of what you like, dislike, and what your dreams are. I am Hyuga Hinata, the designated heir to my clan. I like pressing flowers, learning new jutsus, and Naruto-kun. I dislike shrill, annoying blonde girls. My dream is to one day be the wife of the Hokage. Huh! Naruto blushed and looked over at his best friend. Isn't the yondaime sort of old for you? Kiba asked. Oh, I want to marry the 5th Hokage, she said sweetly and put her head on Naruto's shoulder, causing his blush to go even darker. Moving right along, Kakashi said quickly and nodded to Kiba. I'm Inuzuka Kiba and this is my partner Akamaru. The little dog barked. I like running outside and playing with Akamaru. I dislike cats and any food I can't chew. My dream is to be a great ninja and have lots of hot girls all over me. Someone I can relate to, Kakashi thought. And since Naruto and I know each other, we'll skip an introduction from him. Now the first order of business is the genin exam. All 3 of them chorused. For the 3rd time, Kakashi's sweat dropped. Naruto, you've been talking to them about that? Was I not supposed to? Naruto asked innocently. I mean, I was just trying to care for and support my teammates. Kakashi shook his head. Great, he's using my own words against me. If you didn't want me to tell them about the exam, you and Dad shouldn't have told me all those stories. Kiba snorted. Yeah, we know all about it, so don't bother trying to freak us out about the 66% failure rate, or the possibility of our being sent back to the academy. We understand the challenge we face and are prepared for it. Hinata said with conviction. An hour and a half earlier, a bell test? Kiba asked. Naruto nodded. That's right, it's like a tradition. The third Hokage gave the test to the legendary Jiraiya and his teammates. He gave it to my father and his team. My father gave it to Kakashi and his squad. He'll definitely give it to us. The important thing to remember is that the whole point isn't to actually get the bells. It's to prove we can act as a team and support one another. Don't panic because there are only 2 bells. So long as we act united, we'll pass. I see. Well, I suppose it's our fault. We should have been more circumspect. He looked at Naruto and smiled beneath his mask. I guess you've outsmarted me, Naruto. All right, all of you be at training ground 1 at 8 a.m. sharp tomorrow morning. Oh, and don't have any breakfast. Why not? Kiba asked. You'll end up throwing it up if you do. I will see you all tomorrow. He gave Naruto a particular look before going. For some reason, Naruto suddenly had a bad feeling about tomorrow's test. He shook it off. He knew Kakashi and what to expect. All right, let's all meet here around 7 and have a big team breakfast. We'll talk strategy before going over at around 9:30. Naruto said. But Naruto-kun, sensei just said to be there by 8, Hinata objected. Oh, he always says stuff like that. But like I said, he's always 2 hours late for everything but missions. His 2 teammates nodded. The next morning they came over and joined Naruto and his father at the breakfast table. For Hinata it was nothing special, but Kiba was a little intimidated upon being introduced to the Hokage. Kiba made a point of cooking up a huge spread for all of them. Bacon, sausage, eggs, potatoes, pancakes, cereal, butter, syrup, milk, juice. The table was weighed down with every sort of food. The 3 of them all ate really well and stuffed themselves. Today's the big test, Minato said as he sipped his tea. The Hokage had only had a bowl of oatmeal as he usually did. Are you nervous, son? No way, Dad. This'll be a breeze. Are you sure, son? Minato asked with a little twinkle in his eyes. The Genin test is usually pretty rough. There's a reason only 1 team in 3 passes it on the first try. Well, sure, but that's because they all get caught by surprise, Naruto stated. We know exactly what to expect. Is that so? Kakashi said from behind Naruto's ear. Gah! Naruto jumped out of his seat. When he saw Kakashi standing there, he gawked at him, not believing it. Kakashi-sensei, what are you doing here? You're early. Beneath his mask, Kakashi grinned. You do know that I can make it on time when I want to. Naruto, acquiring information to gain an advantage is all well and good, Minato said and sipped his tea. But if the other side knows you have the information, they can act accordingly. Naruto saw his dad and his sensei grinning at each other, and got a very sick feeling. Kakashi made a show of looking at his wrist watch. Now I believe I told the 3 of you to be at training ground 1 at 8. It is now 7:55. Anyone who is not at the training ground in exactly 5 minutes automatically fails and goes back to the academy. Ah crap! Naruto shouted. Everybody run. They all bolted from the table and raced for the door. Minato and Kakashi were both laughing. They should just make it in time, Minato said between laughs. Yes, and then they'll realize just why they shouldn't have had a big breakfast, Kakashi said gleefully. This is going to be so much fun. He vanished in a swirl of wind and leaves. 4 minutes and 50 seconds later, Naruto, Kiba, and Hinata made it onto training ground 1. They had all had to race here as fast as they could, and were all drenched in sweat and panting. And now that they had come to a stop, their bodies were able to relax, which was not a good thing. Blia! Naruto doubled over and puked. He hadn't even had a chance to make it to some shrubs or a tree. Vomit poured out of his mouth right there out in the open. The second Kiba saw it, he began to gag. He tried to get to some bushes but only made it 2 steps before he felt it coming up his throat. He dropped to both knees and began gagging and puking. Hinata slapped both hands over her mouth and ran for the nearest tree. She couldn't imagine anything worse than throwing up in front of Naruto-kun. Seeing him do it was anything but pretty. She didn't want him to have the mental image of her doing the same. She felt her mouth fill with hot chunky vomit, but held it back behind her hands just long enough for her make it to the other side of the tree. There she daintily emptied out her stomach with her head out of Naruto's line of sight. It took a couple minutes for them to finish. When it was done, and he didn't have anything left to come up, Naruto staggered away from the mess on the ground and took out his canteen. He swallowed some water, swished it around his mouth and spat it out to try and get the disgusting taste out of his mouth. That's the last time I ever listened to you, Kiba groaned. He'd torn up a handful of grass and was slowly chewing on it. Are you two all right? Hinata asked as she came out from behind the tree. She was dabbing her face with a handkerchief and except for looking a bit pale appeared the strongest of the 3 of them. Naruto felt his knees shake a little but he nodded. That is the last time I ever listened to you, Kiba grumbled and chewed on some more grass. Well, I see you all made it one time, Kakashi said pleasantly. He had leapt down from some nearby branches. Say, have any of you seen a bucket filled with cold grease? I'm sure I left it around here somewhere. In his right hand he held out a spoon. As if on cue, all 3 of them bent over and started puking again. After about 5 minutes they all seemed to be done. Hinata looked deeply embarrassed as she'd had no chance to hide this time. Naruto sent out a sickly glare. That was mean, Kakashi-sensei. I know, he said with a hidden smile. But it was also really funny. The three students just stared back blankly. Anyway, since we're all here now, we'll begin your test. Aren't you at least going to give us a chance to recover? Kiba whined. Kakashi shook his head. A ninja must be ready to act at any time and under any circumstance, including when he feels a little sick. That's fine, Naruto growled and stood a little straighter. We'll pass the bell test and prove to you we belong together as a team. Bell test? Kakashi asked questioningly. Who said anything about a bell test? Oh, Naruto thought. As they watched, Kakashi took out a kunai and nicked his thumb, drawing a little blood. He then performed the summoning jutsu. A small dog that Naruto recognized as Pakin appeared in a puff of smoke. Pakin had a small jacket on. Kakashi took out a folded piece of paper and slipped it into a pocket on the jacket. You know what to do, Kakashi said. The dog looked up at him questioningly. You know this is a real waste of my talent, don't you? Please? Sighing, the dog nodded. Fine, but you owe me big. Pakin then took off away from the M and into the training grounds tree line. Kakashi pressed a setting on his wristwatch. All right, you have 1 hour starting now. The three students stood there unmoving. What's going on? Naruto asked. Is the test to play hide and seek with Pakin? Not exactly, Kakashi said in a friendly voice. That note I gave Pakin has the message, Team 7 fails written on it. He's going to try and deliver it to your father in his office in the tower. Your job is to stop him. If he delivers that message in the next 60 minutes, you all fail. Crap! Naruto cried out girlishly. We've got to catch him. He, Hinata, and Kiba took off after the little dog. Watching them run, Kakashi giggled. I really ought to get some popcorn. He vanished in a swirl of wind and leaves. Something's wrong, Kiba shouted. He was leading their team at the moment. Pakin was out of sight, and they were relying on his nose to guide them. Naruto nodded. He's not heading for the tower. Training ground 1 was in the southern section of the village, while the tower was in the north near the cliff wall. The straight path to his goal therefore would have taken Pakin almost due north. Instead he was running westward, towards the market quarter. Why is he going in this direction instead? Hinata asked. Who cares? Kiba growled. It's a good thing since it gives us a way better chance of catching him. There's a trick to this, Naruto said. I know it. Kakashi always says a ninja has to look underneath the underneath. So how the hell does that help us? Kiba asked. Whatever direction he's moving now, we know where he has to go eventually, Hinata pointed out. The tower, Naruto said. Hinata nodded. I have an idea. I'll go to the tower and act as a last line of defense. You two keep chasing him. If you catch him, just rip up the note Kakashi gave him. In the Hokage's office, Minato and Kakashi were relaxing. They had tea and a big bowl of buttered popcorn. In front of them was a crystal ball. Sarutobi had passed on the secret of his scrying jutsu to his successor, knowing how useful it could be. It could also be entertaining. Naruto's figured out there has to be a trick, Minato said with a hint of pride. I figured he would, Kakashi said. After all, I did teach him. I taught him more, Minato pointed out. All the more reason he should have suspected something, Kakashi said. He looked at the crystal ball. Oh, this is going to be a good part. Out of the way. Kiba shouted as he ran and dodged through the crowded street. Please pardon us. Hinata yelled. They had finally gotten close enough to spot Pakin. He had immediately dropped from the rooftops down into the busy streets of the market quarter. Being a small dog, he was able to scoot past people's feet without much trouble, while his pursuers had to try and avoid the hapless civilians as best they could. As he was passing a vendor selling hot dogs, Pakin leapt up and grabbed one in his jaws before continuing to run on. Hey! The man shouted angrily. Pakin chewed his meal and kept running full speed. I'm sure Kakashi will be happy to pay for this. It's the least he can do given where I'm going. You're paying for that hot dog, Minato said. I know. They crossed through the market quarter and on into less crowded parts of the village. We're still not headed towards the tower, Hinata said. Where is he going? A gentle breeze brought a whiff of something and Kiba looked sick. Is something wrong? Hinata asked. I think I know where he's leading us, Kiba spoke grimly. Where, Kiba-kun? You don't want to know, he said. Akamaru whined agreement. You know, I never thought about how fortunate it is that this jutsu only relates sight and sound. Chuckling, Kakashi nodded. If it gave us smell too, that would be a problem. The members of the Inuzuka clan each underwent special procedures that altered their physiology from other humans, even from other ninja. Among the most important difference was an olfactory sense about 100 times stronger than an ordinary human's. Normally this was one of the clan's most prized assets. The Inuzuka were the village's elite trackers and hunter-nin. They could pick up trails that were dazed only and follow them for hundreds of miles. They could follow a single target through a crowd and never lose track of them. They could identify someone instantly by scent no matter how they were disguised. But at times this enhanced sense of scent could be a weakness. Like now, Akamaru was hiding inside Kiba's coat while the boy had both hands clamped over his nose. Why? Kiba cried miserably. Why'd he take us to the garbage dump of all places? Hinata had a hand over her own nose. While this was unpleasant for her, it was not the misery Kiba was going through. We've almost caught him. Come on, Kiba, it will all be over in a little bit. Leaping through small hills of shifting trash, they closed in on their target. Since coming to the dump, Pakken had been slowed by the poor footing offered by the endless rubbish. Also, he couldn't be enjoying this any more than Akamaru was. They'd been able to close the gap and keep an eye on him without even relying on her Byakugan. Pakken did not make it easy. Several times they almost had him, only to have him dodge away at the last instant and avoid their grasp. Finally, though, Kiba managed to drive him around a particular hill of trash where Hinata was waiting. "Got you!" she said triumphantly. As her hands passed through his image, he vanished in a puff of smoke. "No way!" Kiba cried in disbelief. "He made a bunshin?" "Summoned creatures possess chakra and at least the potential to work jutsus that don't use hand signs," Hinata stated. She'd learned that in class. She shut her eyes. Byakugan. Activating her bloodline limit, the veins around her eyes pushed up, giving her an unnatural look. In an instant, she was able to search in a 360-degree arc out to 200 yards. "There's no sign of him," she announced. "Ah man! You have got to be kidding me. What do we do now?" "I don't see we have any choice," she said. "Let's head to the tower and hope Naruto can catch him." Kakashi glanced at his watch. 5 minutes to go. "Have you ever noticed how these things always seem to go down to the very last minute?" Minato said. On the crystal ball was the image of Pakken racing over the rooftops approaching the tower. "Yeah, it wouldn't be as interesting if it didn't though." "True." Outside the tower, 20 Narutos stood guard surrounding the building. Fortunately, Pakken had spotted them from a distance. He couldn't smell anything but garbage right now. He figured his ability to smell was shot for a while. Pakken headed for the entrance and dodged away at the last second. One of the clones spotted him and shouted to the others. All 20 began to chase him, desperate to catch him and get that note. From out of a nearby alley, the real Pakken emerged and dashed to the doorway. "Sorry, Naruto, I really didn't want to be the one who fails you. But you're a little too overaggressive." No hard feelings. People made way for him as he raced up the stairs to the 10th floor where the Hokage and his summoner awaited. Getting to the outer office, administrative assistants watched him as he ran to the office doors where a single Chunin stood guard. "Out of the way. Official business for the Hokage." Pakken shouted and charged past. Before he could reach the door, though, the Chunin snatched him up by the collar and brought him up to face level. "Official business, huh? Funny, you don't look like a normal messenger. You had better put me down or I'll bite you," Pakken warned. With a grin, the Chunin pulled the piece of paper in his jacket out and unfolded it. He laughed when he saw the only thing written there was a smiley face. "Hey! Give that back to me or I'll tell the Hokage you interfered with official state business. I think Dad will forgive me." There was a puff of smoke and the Chunin was revealed to be none other than Naruto. "And why do you smell so bad?" The office doors opened and Minato stepped out with Kakashi. A tiny beeping came from Kakashi's wrist watch. "And that's 1 hour. Looks like you and your team passed Naruto. Congratulations, son." The Hokage happily rubbed his son's head. "Thanks, Dad. Thanks, Sensei," Naruto said proudly. Later that night, Minato hosted a party for the Hyuga and Inuzuka clans as they celebrated their children becoming genin of the village. After Hinata and Kiba went home and took baths, of course, Minato looked at the mission request with a frown. "Why me?" he muttered. "Is something wrong, Hokage-sama?" Iruka asked. With school out of session, he was temporarily assigned to the tower. "It's this mission request," Minato said. "The one from the Fire Daimyo." "Oh, that one." Iruka nodded. "It's rather important given not only who's requesting it but who the subject is." "I really wish I could just refuse this one altogether," the Hokage said. "But it's from the Fire Daimyo." "I know," Minato sighed wearily. Technically, the Hokage and Fire Daimyo were equals. The former was charged with the military forces of the nation, the latter with the economic, legislative, and political authority. In theory, neither could give the other orders. In practice, the Fire Daimyo and the feudal lords sworn to his service provided Konoha about 70% of its business. A request could not be turned down without serious implications. Minato looked at the mission request and thought about it. It had been 12 years. In that time he had healed and gained some acceptance, but he had not really forgiven. He wondered what his dear wife would say about this. He smiled as he imagined her bopping the top of his head and yelling at him to get over it. As he was thinking that, the doors to the chamber opened up and Team 7 entered. In strolled Kakashi, followed by his squad. Hinata was holding a happily purring cat with a red ribbon. Kiba and Akamaru were openly glaring at the cat. Naruto walked in, hands firmly behind his back with a bored look stamped on his features. "There you are, my little kitty!" the Fire Daimyo's wife exclaimed and snatched the poor cat away from Hinata and began crushing it in a hug. "I don't know how you keep getting lost," Minato shook his head. "I give Tora 2 weeks tops before he makes another break for it." "Well, Kakashi, another successful mission, I see. You've certainly been racking them up. It's only been 1 month and you've already completed 40 D ranks. Pretty impressive." "Thank you, Hokage-sama," Kakashi replied. "How do you manage to fit in training with so many missions?" Minato teased. "Ah, it can be challenge." Minato snorted when Kiba stuck his tongue out at him. He'd kept an eye on Kakashi and noted his hands-off approach to teaching. Kakashi had never had any trouble teaching Naruto, but then he'd never been the main instructor. Minato had personally taught his son the basics along with the Kage Bunshin, Rasengan, and a few techniques based on his natural affinity with wind. He had also allowed his son to sign the Toad summoning contract, and worked very hard on his chakra control. Minato was well satisfied with his son's abilities, but was a bit concerned that his teammates were not getting as much instruction as they would need. Since Kakashi was still new to being a sensei, Minato was letting him find his own way for now. If he needed to though, he would pull him aside and have a friendly talk about a sensei's responsibilities. Well, since it's still early, I'll let you pick your next mission. He shuffled the mission requests in front of him. You can help unload a caravan, retile a roof, or do some minor repairs on the wall. None of the above. Naruto suddenly shouted, catching everyone by surprise. I want a real mission. No way am I doing another stupid pointless mission that a bunch of 12-year-olds could handle. Naruto, Kakashi said dryly. You are a bunch of 12-year-olds. You know what I mean. Naruto huffed. I want a mission for ninja. He looked at his father. Dad, that's Hokage-sama. Minato cut him off sharply, making Naruto cringe. Son, I've told you before, you can't expect me to give you preferential treatment. If you want to earn people's respect, you have to do the same jobs they do. But that's exactly what I want. Naruto complained. I want to start doing real missions so I can start proving what an awesome ninja I am. Kiba growled and Akamaru began to bark. Looking embarrassed, Naruto spoke quickly. I mean, what great ninja we are. Don't be ridiculous, Naruto, Iruka said curtly. You and your team are still just barely out of the academy. You need these low-level assignments to prepare yourselves for more difficult ones. Ah, come on. How does weeding a yard or painting a house get us ready for ninja work? None of the other rookie squads have been given anything above D rank yet either, Minato pointed out. Well, Team 7 should definitely be the first. We're way better than the other two. You think so, son? Minato asked. Absolutely. Just give us a chance to prove it. Minato glanced down at the mission request. He actually had 2 C ranks available. All right, son, he said slowly. I'll give you something a little more challenging. Hinata's eyebrows rose. That actually worked? Minato continued and pulled out the document in front of him. I have a mission that would be perfect for your team and for you in particular. Really? What is it? Naruto asked eagerly. You're to track down the Lady Senju Tsunade and convince her to return to this village so she can meet with the Fire Daimyo. We're going to go meet the Lady Tsunade? Hinata said excitedly. We're going to go meet Tsunade? Kakashi groaned. Naruto looked from Hinata to Kakashi questioningly. Is she famous or something? After some explanations, Team 7 was dismissed in order to prepare to leave early the next morning. Kakashi decided to stay behind for a quiet word with the Hokage. Is this some sort of punishment? Kakashi asked directly. Minato's answer was to shove the mission request in front of his friend's single eye. Believe me, this wasn't my idea, Kakashi. But why us? Couldn't you send someone else? Don't whine or you're going to start sounding like Naruto. Minato told him. Whatever my personal feelings, my duty is to assign the squad best suited to the mission. You know her, and I think she would appreciate the chance to meet my son, Kushina's son. Anyway, even if it's a little difficult, it won't be dangerous as long as you don't make her angry. Thanks for the reminder. I've seen her angry. Kakashi shivered a bit. Just find her and extend the invitation, that's all. If she says no, I don't expect you to bring her in by force. Well, that's good at least. I was hoping to live a while longer. On his way out, he passed Kurenai and Team 8. When they entered the chamber, Kurenai bowed slightly. Team 8 reporting mission completed. We are here to request another mission. Minato nodded and looked at the kids who were standing behind her. Sakura smiled over at him and even gave a quick wave hello. Shino stood there with his eyes hidden away behind shades like all the Aburame clan. Then there was Sasuke, looking right back at him defiant and proud. Sasuke made no secret that he wanted to prove himself to the village and restore the honor of the Uchiha. Itachi was one of his most trusted and able lieutenants. Hisa was a skilled kunoichi who might make Chunin in the next few years. He was interested to see what Sasuke was capable of. He had a safe C-rank escort mission that would be a good way to give all of them a little more experience, and let them see the world beyond Konoha. I see that Team 8 had successfully completed 35 D ranks. Tell me, Kurenai, is your team ready for something more demanding? Definitely, Hokage-sama, she replied without hesitation. They're a fine squad and ready for more. Well, in that case, I have a C-rank mission for you. You'll be escorting a bridge builder back to his home in Wave Country. The next morning, Naruto was finishing up his breakfast before leaving to meet his team at the gates. Please take good care of yourself, Naruto, Ki told him. And remember that all ninja missions can be dangerous no matter how simple they appear to be. Sure thing, Kid, I'll be careful. Dressed in a dark green shirt and khaki pants, he pulled on his trench coat. With his pouches and canteen in place, he really did look like a miniature version of his father. When I come back, I want to have your special ramen. I will consider making it for you upon your return. Only consider? Oh, come on, Kid-san. Naruto, how many times have I told you not to whine? It is not becoming of someone of your position. Naruto arrived at the gate a few minutes before 8. To his shock, not only was Kakashi actually there on time, but he was talking to Kurenai, whose squad was there too. Hinata and Sakura were talking and waved him over. Naruto, you'll never believe it, Sakura told him. My team and I are going to Wave Country on a mission. That's great, Sakura-chan, he said. We're going to the Isle of Tariki, the place with all the casinos. I know, Hinata told me. You're also going to meet the Lady Tsunade. You're so lucky. Naruto didn't think so, Hinata confided. He didn't even realize who she was at first. Sakura looked surprised. But she was Jiraiya's teammate, one of the Sannin. Your father must have known her. I think he did, but he's never said anything about her. Even last night when I asked, he wouldn't say anything. He just gave me a letter. A letter? Sakura asked, and both girls looked curious. Reaching into one of his coat pockets, Naruto produced a plain envelope with Tsunade written in a neat hand and bearing the personal seal of the 4th Hokage. What's it say? Sakura asked. No idea, Naruto said. Dad gave it to me already sealed, and I can't open it without breaking the seal and getting in trouble. He gave Hinata a warm smile. Though with the Byakugan. No, Hinata said firmly. Well, are we going or not? An old man with a bottle of whiskey in hand complained. I am a bridge builder of great renown, and my time is precious, you know. Sakura sighed. That's Tazuna, our client. I'm really jealous of you guys. Sakura, we're leaving now, Kurenai called. Coming, sensei. Bye, guys. I'll see you when we all get back. Hinata and Naruto waved goodbye and watched Team 8 depart with their surly client. They did not suspect that one of them would not return. Flashback. The demon brothers were unconscious and chained to a tree. Fortunately, Kurenai had spotted the puddle of water they had been hiding in. She had managed to cast a genjutsu that neither her students nor her team had noticed. She was able to defeat them both and even got to see her team in action. All three of them had performed well, with Sasuke showing real talent and courage under fire. Now that the fight was over, though, it was time to deal with some serious matters. She turned to look at Tazuna and saw the man flinch as her red eyes bored into him. These men were both Chunin level and they were here aiming for you, Tazuna-san, she said. Chunin are not easy or cheap to hire. Why would someone go to that much trouble for a bridge builder? How would I know? He answered nervously. Please don't treat me like a fool, Tazuna-san. All ninja are taught to see through deception. It's a skill that often means the difference between life and death. I am a jonin of my village and quite skilled at reading people. It's clear to me you're lying. Now tell me what you're hiding, or I am taking my team with me back to the village. You can't do that. I assure that I can. As sensei, I am the one responsible for my team's safety. I am not about to take them into a situation they are not ready for. I trust them to handle any random bandits we come across, but not Chunin-level opponents. Now either tell me why these men were sent after you, or I am canceling our contract and taking my squad back to Konoha. If you do that, I'm a dead man. Why? She demanded. Just who is it that is after you? Seeing no alternative, Tazuna lowered his head and answered in a low undertone. His name is Gato. Gato? She said in surprise. You don't mean the billionaire shipping magnate, that Gato, do you? Tazuna nodded. That's one side of him, he said bitterly. But what you may not know is that he is also a ruthless gangster who uses violence and corruption to get whatever he wants. The Land of Waves used to be a prosperous place before he came there. He used his gangs to run off all the other shipping interests until he had a monopoly on waterborne transport. For an island nation like ours, shipping is our life's blood. The economy was soon ruined as Gato raised the transport costs by 500 or 600%. He profited while scores of businesses went under and people fell into poverty. The bridge I'm building could change all that. If I can complete it, people will be able to trade without paying the ridiculous transport fees and be able to earn livings again, which would be bad news for Gato and his shipping interests, Sasuke spoke up. Sakura nodded. And gives him a very good reason to want you dead. Given the economics involved, it seems certain even greater efforts will be expended to eliminate you, Shino said in a cool, rational voice. Tazuna nodded nervously. That's why if you abandon me, I'm dead. If you knew you would likely be targeted by ninja, you should have requested a higher ranked mission. For something like this, we would have assigned a B or even an A rank and provided you a much stronger bodyguard. Kurenai told him. There was no money to pay for anything more than a C rank, Tazuna explained. I had to keep the real level of danger hidden, and instead you want me to protect you with genin who are just learning what it means to be real ninja. You expect them to do a job that would be assigned to a team of jonin and chunin. Kurenai shook her head. I am very sorry, Tazuna-san, but I am going to have to cancel our contract. If you return to the village with us, you'll be given a full refund. What the hell good does that do me? He demanded. I need protection, not money. Sensei, we can't turn tail and run, Sasuke said. People will think we're cowards. Kurenai shook her head. No, they won't, Sasuke. We're ninja, not berserkers. If you're in a situation where the odds are too heavy against you, there's nothing wrong with retreating. No one is going to think a genin squad cowardly just because they can't handle chunin-level opposition. But sensei, we did handle 2 chunin, Sakura pointed out. That is correct, Shino stated. The simple fact the mission has a greater degree than was originally anticipated should not of itself rule out the possibility of successful completion. Your students seem willing to continue, Tazuna said hopefully. That only proves that they have courage, but not enough common sense. She turned to look sharply at her charges. While the 3 of you performed admirably, I was the one who defeated them. If we continue, we would face either higher level opponents or larger numbers of them, and I am not confident enough in my ability such an unknown risk. Isn't that a ninja's job? Sasuke asked. Facing unknown risks? I'm not afraid of whatever may come. I refuse to run away from my first real mission. I agree with Sasuke-kun, Sakura spoke up. The Hokage always talks about doing what is right no matter the risk. How can we just abandon poor Tsunade-san or his people? I truly appreciate your kind words, little girl, Tsunade said. But your sensei is right, it's best you just leave this helpless old man to his fate. I mean, who cares if my poor daughter will be left without a parent? Even though I know she'll blame Konoha for letting her dear dad be butchered. It's fine. Tsunade came forward in the boat near to where she was. I want to thank you for protecting me. When we get to my house, I'll have my daughter cook us up a feast. Kurenai nodded without saying anything. She was still trying to maintain a calm front, but couldn't shake the feeling that agreeing to this had been a mistake. She'd had sympathy for Tsunade and his situation. She'd also been pleased by the courage her 3 students displayed. Seeing her hesitation, Tsunade had been quick to play up the tragic aspects of his poor daughter and of the children who were left hungry because their parents were being victimized by Gato and his thugs. In the end, she had reversed herself and decided to continue the mission. Now, though, she was questioning the wisdom of that. What kind of opposition would Gato have lined up for them? They had already faced and beaten 2 Chunin-level ninja. That meant she would have to expect enemies of greater skill or of greater number. It was even possible they would face both. She was a Jonin of the Leaf and had plenty of combat experience along with her share of kills. But the fact remained, she was a genjutsu specialist. Her skills were better suited to reconnaissance or ambush rather than straight battle. In this situation, a heavy combat specialist like a Suma or Guy would have been preferable. Though her kids were all promising, she had no illusions that they were ready for Jonin of Chunin level combat. Everything would depend on her ability to take the enemy out quickly with her genjutsu. The small boat finally arrived at a rickety old dock. All of you stay sharp and keep your eyes wide open. From this point on, think of yourselves as being in enemy territory. Kurenai instructed them. All 3 of her students nodded with serious expressions on their faces. She decided against telling them it was likely they would be attacked somewhere between here and Tsunade's home. Her students were alert and aware of the potential for danger that would do. Taking the lead, she led them out. Zabuza was sitting on a tree branch overlooking the trail that led to the target's home. He and his partner had been out here the last 3 days waiting. Like all true ninja, the demon of the mist could be patient when he needed to be. A figure in a hunter Nin mask materialized on the branch beside him. The target and an escort of 4 ninja are approaching. About damn time, Zabuza growled. What kind of read did you get on the escort? 3 of them are children, likely no older than 12 or 13. They are led by a kunoichi with the bearing of someone experienced. Children? Zabuza said in disbelief. It sounds like a Jonin sensei with a raw squad. How the hell did the demon brothers lose to that? Perhaps the sensei is something special? The hunter Nin offered. Maybe, Zabuza grunted. In any case, it's time to find out. Kurenai froze. Triad formation. Protect the client, she shouted. Her students pulled out their kunai and formed a tight triangle around a suddenly frightened Tsunade. This is it, Sasuke said excitedly. His chance to start proving himself and begin redeeming his clan. For her part, Sakura was just trying not to shake. Shino looked exactly like he did on the training ground. Standing about 20 feet away was a muscular ninja with wrapping on his face and a huge 2-handed sword on his back. He was making no effort at all to hide his presence. I was thinking about making a grand entrance, but I don't think I'll bother. If it's not too much trouble, would you mind handing over the old man to me? I'm giving you this one chance as a professional courtesy. I recognize you from the bingo book, Kurenai said with a calm she did not feel. You're Momochi Zabuza. This was very, very bad. She was up against a demon of the mist and a master of silent killing. She had no illusions she would be any sort of match for him in an open fight. Fame, Zabuza replied with a chuckle. If you know who I am, you know your only chance is to give up the old coot and just walk away. As much fun as it would be to chop you all up, I'm only worried about money right now. Just stand aside and you can go. She knew she had only one chance. She began casting and ran at him. As her genjutsu took effect, vines seemed to sprout up out of the ground and entangle his arms and legs. She covered the distance between them in the blink of an eye. She had to strike in the moment of confusion before he realized this was all illusion. Without hesitation, she plunged her kunai straight into his heart. Out of the fatal wound, water poured out. Sucker, the Mizu Bunshin laughed as it dissolved. On sheer instinct, Kurenai dived to the left. This saved her life as a sword sliced through the space she had just occupied. But it left her momentarily defenseless. Letting go of his sword, Zabuza delivered a brutal punch to her face, knocking her out and causing the genjutsu to vanish. Sensei! Sakura shouted. Picking his sword back up, Zabuza turned in their direction and began to stroll over towards them. He looked more amused by the situation than anything else. This is the part where you brats run away screaming. Don't underestimate me, Sasuke shouted. I'm a ninja of the Uchiha clan and we don't run. You're a what? Don't make me laugh, snot nose. Calling a kid like you a ninja is an insult to the name. It takes a hell of a lot more to be a ninja than a little training and a hit tied around your forehead. And you're an Uchiha? I thought the fourth Hokage wiped you all out. I guess you leaf means really are soft if he spared some of you traitors. Hearing that hated word from a foreign ninja made something inside him just snap. With a scream of pure rage, Sasuke ran at him, his only thought to kill him for his insult. Sasuke! No! Sakura shouted and ran after him. Sakura, don't! Shino called out but remained where he was to try and protect Tsunade. Zabuza laughed at the boy's stupidity. A real ninja wouldn't let a few words drive him over the edge. He lifted his sword and swung, aiming to cut him in half. Sasuke leapt the blade's arc, his eyes blazing and turning red as his Sharingan awoke. He aimed his strike for the man's unprotected neck, but faster than he would have believed possible the sword was brought back around. Sasuke felt the butt end slam into his belly. All his breath was forced out all at once, and he was sent flying through the air. He slammed hard into the ground and rolled over to the base of a tree. Despite pain and lack of breath, he grabbed onto the tree and forced himself up to his feet. He looked up to see his enemy looming over him, sword up and about to come down. Sasuke! He heard her shout, and the next thing he knew he was pushed back to the ground. He was lying on the ground looking up as Zabuza's sword sliced through Sakura and tree behind her. His newly active Sharingan let him see the fountain of blood and the look of surprise on Sakura's face with perfect clarity. He saw clearly as the top half of her body toppled over while the bottom half somehow remained standing. He saw her eyes turn to look at him, and her mouth moved soundlessly, forming the word, sorry. When her body hit the ground, he saw the light already going out of her eyes. Her body wound up just a few feet away from him, her lifeless face still turned in his direction. He stayed where he was on the ground staring at her, the sudden shock of what had happened too much. This your first time seeing someone die, kid? Zabuza asked, amused. By the time I was a ninja, my hands were already soaked in blood. This is the difference between brats like you and real ninja. Take a good long look. If you really do become a ninja, this is something you'll see a lot of. It was true. This was the first time he had ever seen someone die. By the time he had been allowed to return to his home, the bodies had been removed and the blood all washed away. He had pictured what must have happened to his father and the others, but seeing it was something else entirely. Somehow he found the strength to look away from her and get back on his feet. He noted Zabuza had not moved and that Shino was now at his side. What you have done cannot be forgiven, Shino said with what was for him a great deal of anger in his voice. I'm going to kill you for this, Sasuke promised. Zabuza shrugged. His sword was resting on his shoulder. If that's the way you want it, come on then. But before either boy could make a move, a hail of senbons fell on them, piercing them through their backs, arms, and legs. They both fell over, unable to do more than twitch. Zabuza looked up at the tree line where his partner stood calmly watching. Why did you bother with that? They are not truly our enemies, Zabuza-sama, and we will in no way profit from their deaths. Like this, they are no longer a threat and do not have to be killed. You're still way too soft, Haku. Zabuza did not sound pleased. But fine, if you want, I'll let them live. He looked down at the two conscious boys. You two owe your life to my associate Haku. I would just as soon kill you as look at you. With that, Zabuza turned and slowly approached Tsunade, who was still standing there pale and shaking. The old troublemaker had been too scared to even run, not that he could have gotten away if he had. Any final words? Zabuza asked in a friendly way. If so, I'll see they reach your family. Thank you, please tell my daughter and grandson. Just kidding, Zabuza laughed. In a flash, the bridge builder's head was separated from his body and sent flying. Zabuza took the head and stuffed it in a sack. It was proof the contract had been fulfilled. Let's go get our money, Zabuza said happily. Yes, Zabuza-sama. The two of them left to meet their employer without giving the shattered remnant of teammate a second thought. As soon as Zabuza saw that Gato wasn't here, he knew he'd be unhappy. Instead of Gato, there was some short, greasy-haired guy with glasses and a briefcase. He had about 20 well-armed bandits with him for protection. The way they were glaring at him seemed proof these idiots had never faced ninja. They were meeting outside the town where the bridge was being built. Yesterday he and Haku had delivered Tsunade's head, keeping their side of the bargain. Today Gato was expected to deliver on his end. Where's Gato? Zabuza demanded. Gato-san had urgent business elsewhere, and has already left this country, the mouthpiece stated. I'll just bet, he grumbled. What about my money? The man in the glasses handed the case over to one of the bandits, who tossed it over to Zabuza's feet. There is your payment with Gato-san's thanks. We are done here. Hold it! Zabuza shouted. He picked up the case and dumped the contents out. Bundles of real notes spilled out onto the ground. But not enough bundles and not in big enough denominations. Zabuza had plenty of experience counting up money and knew immediately he had been seriously shorted. What the hell are you trying to pull here? This isn't 10 million Ryu. One old bridge builder is not worth 10 million Ryu, the man said calmly. He was when Gato hired me. The contract was for 10 million, cash, payable upon completion. Gato-san has reevaluated and decided the true worth of the contract was 100,000 Ryu, which he gladly pays you. The man made a signal and several of the bandits took out bows and loaded them. The man seemed confident that this would be enough to cower the demon of the mist. He was pleased with your work and may hire you again in the future. That is the only reason you are being allowed to collect your payment and walk away. Please accept the money and go. If you cause any trouble, you will be killed on the spot. Even if you should somehow manage to escape, the hunter Nins of Kiro will be informed of your whereabouts." Beneath his bandages, Zabuza grinned at the man's composure. "Hey, let me guess, you're part of middle management, and this is your first big job for Gato? Am I right?" The man's calm air slipped just a bit. "Yes, how would you know that?" "Heh, I just figured he'd use a throwaway for something like this. No point letting someone important get killed." The idiot realized he was not in control of the situation and, as one would expect, he panicked. "Kill him!" the man shouted. The arrows were loosed, and they all hit Zabuza right in the chest. His body promptly turned to water. The real Zabuza leapt down from his hiding spot and started butchering the bandits before most of them could even draw a weapon. A hail of senbons came down, crippling and disabling others. Zabuza cut the annoying office worker into quarters. He then finished off the others who had been disabled by the senbons. Unlike with the Leaf Nins, he was in no mood to show any quarter. "The bastard's a damn billionaire, and he shorts me," Zabuza raged. 100,000? I wouldn't even have come to this forsaken corner of the world for that much. I swear I'll kill the son of a bitch. Gato is a dead man. Haku was calmly retrieving his senbons. He had managed not to directly kill anyone. He wondered if that really mattered when he had helped Zabuza do the killing. "Forgive me, Zabuza-sama, but was this really wise? As it is, the hunter Nins will surely be informed of our whereabouts and be on their way." "Haku, they're already on their way," Zabuza stated with certainty. "The second Gato broke his contract with me, he knew I'd kill him for it. Sending this token payment was supposed to lull me and convince me he actually wanted to continue doing business." He tossed the money back in the briefcase and got up. "It's time to get the hell out of Wave and disappear again." "Yes, Zabuza-sama," Haku replied without any real emotion. This was the way of life when you were a Nuke Nin. The three of them stood over a simple mound of earth. There were no markers or signs, nothing at all to show this was the grave of a young girl who had died far from home in service to her village. "Is this all there is?" Sasuke asked. "Some unmarked grave in the middle of the woods? A few words, a few prayers, and that's it?" "A lot of times a ninja doesn't get even this much," Kurenai said quietly. "A lot of good people have been left out to rot because there was no one left to bury them, or the mission didn't allow time for even that." "What? Did you think every dead ninja got a funeral service and a place in the family cemetery?" She touched a pouch that contained Sakura's Hittite and her personal possessions. "I will return these to her family, who will hold a memorial service. Her name will be carved into the monument. That is as much tribute as she will be given, which puts her ahead of father, and the others in that area at least. Traitors didn't get their names on the monument." Sasuke was looking at the pile of earth. In a year's time it would be completely overgrown, and even they would never be able to find it again. In time everything about her would be forgotten. "Sensei," Shino spoke up. "Are we really returning to the village? What else can we do?" Kurenai asked. "The mission is a failure, and the client is dead. I returned the remains to his family and informed them of what happened." Kurenai sighed at the memory of Tsunade's daughter and grandson railing at the Leaf Village for allowing his death. She hadn't bothered trying to explain the reality. The fact that by lying about the nature of the threat he had been assigned a woefully underpowered squad for protection. Against someone of Zabuza's ability they had never stood a chance. Kurenai had known neither of them would have believed her anyway, and as it was, perhaps they could find a tiny bit of comfort in blaming her and her village. All that's left now is to return to the village and report all this. "And what about Zabuza and Gato?" Sasuke demanded. "Are they really going to get away with this? If any further action is to be taken, that will be the Hokage's decision, not mine." Sasuke kept staring down at the mound of dirt. "She died because of me," he said quietly. "She sacrificed herself to save me. Then honor her memory by becoming a great ninja and protecting all your teammates from here on out," Kurenai told him. "But don't blame yourself for what happened. The only one responsible for this was me. I alone am to blame and will tell the Hokage exactly that. I should never have allowed the mission to continue after we were attacked by those two Chunin. As soon as I knew the degree of the threat, I should have returned to the village." She closed her eyes. "What the hell was I thinking taking Genin into this?" "You are not to blame, Sensei," Shino stated rationally. "All three of us were eager to continue the mission." "That's right," Sasuke said. "You were just doing what we all wanted to do." "That's no excuse, Sasuke," Kurenai said directly. "A ninja squad is not a democracy. A Jonin sensei is put in charge for a reason. It was my responsibility to use good judgment in assessing the situation. What the three of you wanted should have had nothing to do with it. I should never have allowed myself to be swayed. Sakura's death and Tsunade's are my responsibility alone." Is this really all there is?" Sasuke asked. "It doesn't seem enough somehow." "No, it doesn't," she agreed. "But this is how a ninja leaves the world. Never forget it." Sadly, she turned away. "Now we have to go. This is also part of what it means to be ninja." Sasuke was the last to turn away. He knew that he would never be able to find her brave again, even if he had some reason to come back to this place. "I'm sorry, Sakura. I never treated you with the respect you deserved. Honestly, I always looked down on you because you didn't have a bloodline or come from a clan, but you were a good friend and a good ninja, and I owe you my life. I promise I will never forget you for as long as I live. With this final silent goodbye he bowed to her, something he would never have done while she was alive. He then turned away and left with the rest of his squad. I see, the Hokage answered quietly. It is a terrible shame, but these things do happen. Yes, Hokage-sama, Kurenai said dully. Sasuke and Shino had both been allowed to return home. There was no need for anyone else but her to report in. Zabuza will go on our wanted list immediately. About of 1,000,000 ryu seems fitting. He looked at Kurenai questioningly. Are you sure you don't want me to issue one for his partner as well? She shook her head. From what both Sasuke and Shino tell me, they'd be dead if it weren't for him. I don't want to repay that mercy by placing a bounty on his head. Very well, Minato said. Then there's the matter of Gato, the Hokage said grimly. Since he hired Zabuza and ordered the mission where a leaf nin was killed, I consider him every bit as guilty. He's a billionaire though, a well-respected businessman, Kurenai said bitterly. If we kill him, won't that hurt the village's reputation? Minato grinned coldly. Don't worry, Kurenai, for every task there is a perfect tool. Gato will be dealt with. He looked at her with regret. I am afraid I will have to suspend you from active duty until I can reassign you. She lowered her head in shame. I apologize for my poor judgment, Hokage-sama. I take full responsibility for Sakura's death. He nodded. He had no doubt that Kurenai was a fine kunoichi and that she truly regretted what had happened. But, you should never have gone to Wave after being attacked by the Demon Brothers. The moment you realized it was no longer a true C rank, you should have returned immediately and cancelled the contract. I know your students were all willing to press on in spite of the danger, but that is why we entrust our young genin to Senior Jonin Ninja, the village, and I expect you to be the one to make the decisions based on your own experience and best judgment. Your original decision to return was the right one. Allowing the client and your students to change your decision was the mistake. She could only stand there and nod miserably. The Hokage was right. Ultimately it had been her choice. She alone was responsible. Having rebuked her, Minato let her down easy. We all make mistakes. Maybe in the future you can try being a sensei again, but for right now something else might suit you better. Yes, Hokage-sama, she said dully. She would have to talk to Sasuke and Shino, not just to say goodbye but ready them for a new instructor. Wow! Naruto said as his ship pulled up the dock. So this is Tariki? It's amazing. Not too bad for your first time out of the village, is it? Kakashi asked. Naruto could only nod. The island was only about 2 miles wide and a mile deep at its thickest spot. Except for where the wooden piers were, the entire ocean front was sandy white beach. There were hundreds of men and women playing in the water or lying on the sand with very little on. Hinata thought it rather scandalous. Kiba was drooling at some of the girls in their tiny swimsuits. Beyond the beach, just about every inch of land had a massive building on it. There were luxury hotels and casinos that stretched higher than the Hokage Tower and were 2 or 3 times as broad. Many of the buildings were splashed with gold paint that made them shine under the tropic sunlight. At night there would be neon lights that would fill every part of this city. This can be a very fun town, but expensive, Kakashi told them as they went down the ramp. They say everything is for sale here, and they're not joking. So you've been here before, Kakashi-sensei? Naruto asked. Once or twice, he said. As they left the docks and entered the casino district, Naruto and Kiba noticed a number of scantily clad women standing about. Hey sensei, how much would she cost? Kiba said, pointing at blonde girl in denim shorts and a red bikini top. Kakashi studied her for a moment. Probably about 5,000 ryu, though you might be able to negotiate it a little lower. Really? Kiba exclaimed. He'd been joking. Sensei! Hinata cried. Hey, sorry, Kakashi said, though he didn't seem too sorry. Kiba, try and remember we're here on a job. Also, you're only 12. That's like 84 in dog years though. Kiba argued. Naruto couldn't help looking at some of the other barely dressed women out there. A buxom girl with long black hair who could not possibly be older than 18 winked at him as he walked past. He couldn't help but blush. Naruto-kun! Hinata yelled. What? He jumped. I didn't do anything. Make sure you don't. She grabbed onto his arm. Tsunade was at the craps table of the Golden Kami Casino. Standing behind her holding Tonton, their pet pig, Shizen looked unhappy. Lady Tsunade, don't you think we should leave now? Shizen asked pleadingly. What are you talking about? I still have money left. Isn't that when you should quit? Shizen said desperately. Tsunade smiled at her. Don't worry, I can feel my luck about to change. She put down a stack of 10,000 ryu chips and tossed the dice. Snake eyes. The dealer sang out. Shooter craps out. Her little stack of chips was swept off the table. I see your luck hasn't changed, Tsunade. She looked over to see a familiar face mostly covered by a mask and Hittite. What are you doing here, Kakashi? She asked gruffly. Kakashi gulped. A hostile Tsunade was a dangerous Tsunade. Maybe this is just coincidence. No, it's not, she said flatly. If you were here on your own, you'd be in one of the strip clubs a couple blocks over. There are strip clubs? Kiba said excitedly. Tsunade noticed the 3 kids standing behind Kakashi. Don't tell me the village made you a sensei. Afraid so. My sensei finally cornered me into it. At the oblique mention of Minato, Tsunade appeared a bit unhappy. How is he? Fine, he's just fine, Kakashi told her. As a matter of fact, the reason I'm here. I knew it, she said accusingly. He wants me to return to the village, doesn't he? Well, technically the fire daimyo does. We're here to just deliver a message. You can consider it delivered, now go. Hey! My father wrote you a letter, the least you can do is read it. Even if you are a Sannin and a former teammate to the great Jiraiya, you should still show a little respect. Tsunade stared at the mouthy little brat who had just taken his life in his hands. He had spiky blonde hair, 3 scars on each cheek, and was dressed in a trench coat. Now that she was taking a good look at him, she knew who he was. Naruto, she breathed. You're Naruto. Kushina's son, he nodded proudly. That's right, I'm Namake's Naruto, son of the Yondaime Hokage and Uzumaki Kushina. And I came all this way just to deliver this to you. He held out a sealed envelope to her. Excuse me, the dealer called. But please toss the dice or pass them to the next shooter. Oh, all right. Tsunade put down her last 50,000 as Shizen groaned and muttered to herself about living on the street. She then handed the dice to Naruto as she took the letter from him. Here, you throw them for me. Your father always had the devil's own luck. Maybe you got some too. He stared at the dice she'd put in his hands. What am I supposed to do with these? She nodded to the other end of the craps table. Just toss them down there. She then stepped away from the table to nervously open the letter. She had not heard from Minato in over 12 years. Not since Jiraiya's funeral. Taking out the single sheet, she saw the message was brief and to the point. Auntie, please return to the village. Minato. She couldn't help but laugh. Trust him to say more with 7 words than most could say with 700. Since you're laughing, does that mean it's good news? Kakashi asked. Smiling, she showed him the letter. Kakashi grinned beneath his mask. Trust sensei to get right to the point. That was one of the things I always liked about him, she agreed. It's been a very long time since he called me Auntie. She looked questioningly at Kakashi. Does this mean he's forgiven me? Well, I don't know if forgiven is the word, but he's not angry anymore at least. She thought about that and chewed her bottom lip. Well, that's something, and I'm grateful he let me finally see Naruto. I wanted to right after the funeral, but he wouldn't allow it. Well, then why not come back? You can get to know him and see about mending fences with sensei. She looked at the letter again and frowned. Minato wasn't the only thing keeping me away, you know. I still have a lot of issues with the village. The original request for your return isn't from the Hokage but from the fire daimyo. If you refuse this request to return, he might force sensei to officially recall you. She gave Kakashi a dangerous look. That sounds like a threat. It's not meant as one, he said quickly. But the fire daimyo is not someone easily refused. Whether I go back or not will be my decision, Kakashi. No one else's, Tsunade said furiously. As a matter of fact, I don't think I will. Lady Tsunade! Lady Tsunade! Shizen cried excitedly. What is it, Shizen? Look! Just look! She was pointing excitedly to the craps table where a crowd had formed. What's going on? It's Naruto! Shizen said excitedly. He just 6 straight passes. 7. Winner! The dealer sang out as the crowd gave a hearty cheer. Make it 7 straight! Shizen said in amazement. Tsunade stared at the crowd that had the boy completely hidden from view. Has he been doubling up with each bet? Shizen nodded. If he started with 50,000 and doubled it 7 times, Kakashi did the math in his head. That would come to 6,400,000. Naruto stopped throwing. Tsunade screamed and forced her way into the crowd to the 12-year-old's side. She got there just as he was about to throw again. He looked up at her in surprise. Why? I thought I was doing pretty good. She quickly took the dice from him. She had no sense of discretion when it came to her own gambling, but when someone else was involved she still seemed to understand what odds were. She looked to the dealer. I'm cashing out. The crowd moaned, but she couldn't care less. Naruto, Tsunade said sweetly. Before we head back to Konoha, how would you like to learn how to play poker? In a large mansion just outside the city of Fukushima, Gato was in his office going over the latest acquisition he had in mind. A minor shipping company he was interested in was refusing to sell. He'd had some quiet discussions with the owner's brother who would inherit the business if anything unfortunate happened to him. The current owner would have a little accident, and the buyout would go through, and at a lower price too. It was all just part of doing business. He loved business, and he loved making money. He had figured out a long time ago that human life wasn't worth much. If killing the right people improved the bottom line, then he never gave it a second thought. The whole thing in Wave Country had been a perfect example. The people there had still been trying to oppose him. If that damn bridge had been completed, all his investments would have been lost. Killing that old drunk had finally put an end to that and snuffed out the last hopes of the locals. Now most of the Wave's economy went straight into his pockets. Sure, the people there were on the verge of starvation, but so what? The one and only regret was that Zabuza and Haku had gotten away before the Mist Hunter Nines could arrive. But that was all right. He had a small army guarding him, and the local lord was in his debt literally. No nuke Nin would dare come here, and sooner or later Zabuza's luck would run out. Tap. 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 He looked over to his window to see a raven sitting on the ledge tapping its beak against the window. Grunting, he decided to ignore it and keep working. Tap. 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 He glared at the bird. The bird didn't seem to realize just who he was bothering. Tap. 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 He could call a servant in, but that would waste time. He got up from behind the desk to shoo the annoying bird away. Get out of here, you damn bird. He opened the window. Out of nowhere, a whole flock of ravens stormed into his office. Hey! Hey, get off of me! Gato shouted and waved his arms about furiously. They seemed to listen and vanished. In their place was a man in a black cloak with a raven mask on. Even as Gato was inhaling to shout for his guards, a hand clamped down over his mouth. Look into my eyes, Gato, and accept your just punishment. A cold, unfeeling voice whispered. Panicked, Gato did just that, looking into bizarre red eyes and feeling himself slip away. He found himself in a colorless landscape beneath a full moon. He was chained to a post with his wrist bound painfully above his head. What is this place? He screamed. This is Tsukuyomi, the same emotionless voice answered. Here I control time, space, and even matter. My orders are to torture you as much as possible before killing you. The Hokage intends that your punishment fit the crime, so for the next 72 hours I will cut you into pieces. Gato was speechless as a dozen copies of the man slowly approached him, each holding a sword in his hands. Wait! Do you know who I am? He cried. You are the shipping magnate Gato, the other man replied. More importantly, you are the individual who hired Momochi Zabuza and caused the death of the leaf ninja Haruno Sakura. For this the Hokage has ordered your torture and death. I'm a billionaire, damn it! He screamed. My life is worth 1,000,000 times more than some common ninja. In your eyes I am sure that is so. Obviously you are a man who values only money. Fortunately my Hokage is a man of honor. I would not expect you to understand what that means. I will also not bother trying to explain as there is little point. All 12 versions hacked into him, cutting off his arms and legs, chopping into his ribs and belly. None of the wounds were fatal and he stayed conscious and able to feel every last cut. His screams and cries for mercy did not affect the ninja in the least. At last, mercifully, he died, or thought he did. Miraculously, he awoke still chained to the post, his body whole again, and the 12 copies standing in front of him patiently holding their swords. I will torture you for 72 hours, the ninja repeated. 71 hours, 59 minutes and 59 seconds remain. Before the ninjas even started cutting again, Gato was screaming. So that's how your mother and I nearly killed him after we caught him peeking on us in the baths. They were on the deck of a boat heading back to Konoha. Tsunade hadn't wanted to leave. She had won over 22 million ryu in just a couple days having Naruto play for her. She staked him and gave him some advice, but otherwise she just stood back and watched her little moneymaker rake in the cash. She was sure that in just a couple weeks she could have owned the whole damned island. Unfortunately, Kakashi had stated that he and his team were going back to the village with or without her. Ultimately, she decided to return, and so she and Shizen were on this ship heading back to Fire Country. She really did want to get to know Naruto better, so she was telling him and his teammates stories from her past. Naruto had especially wanted to hear about Jiraiya, or as he called him, the Great Jiraiya. Right now, he was looking at her with his jaw hanging open. Kiba was laughing while little Hinata was a furious shade of red. Hold it! Naruto said loudly. Are you telling me that the Great Jiraiya, my father's sensei, the man who saved my father's life and sacrificed himself for the village, was a pervert? Tsunade smiled at him. No, I'm not saying Jiraiya was a pervert. Oh good, Naruto said in relief. I'm saying he was a super pervert, she said with a laugh. He was the most single-mindedly, underhandedly, sneakiest, and most lecherous man who ever snuck out of a geisha house without paying. That's what I'm saying. No way! Naruto cried defiantly. No way could he have been like that, she sighed and shook her head. Listen, brat, I was his teammate for a lot of years and I knew him as well as anybody, and that includes your father. He was a complete, total, and utter pervert. Believe it, Naruto stubbornly shook his head. No way! My dad has told me all about him. He never once mentioned him doing anything like that. He sure never mentioned him peeping on my mom. You got the sanitized version of events, I see, Tsunade said dryly. Listen, brat, the only reason you've never heard of this is because your father and other people don't want to talk about his failings now that he's gone. But he did peek on your mom and me, though Kushina wasn't married to your father yet at that time. Naruto looked over to his sensei for support. At the moment he was leaning against a bulkhead with a small paperback entitled, I Know Why They Light the Red Lantern. Hey Kakashi-sensei, in that story she says you were trying to perform a citizen's arrest on Jiraiya while he was peeping. That never happened, right? Kakashi looked up from his book. I'm sorry, did you say something? Naruto growled. Sensei, you knew Jiraiya too, right? Of course I did, Kakashi agreed. Your father introduced me to him when I first became his student. So you knew him pretty well then? That's right, Kakashi agreed. And he wasn't a pervert at all, right? Kakashi looked back at his book. No comment. Tsunade began laughing while Naruto looked just plain horrified. When they returned to Konoha, there was a small crowd at the gate to welcome them. Tsunade noticed immediately that among them was a handsome man in white and red robes. He was surrounded by clan heads and other elite ninja of the village, including the now retired Sarutobi. Obviously he had come to welcome her back. Tsunade braced herself, not sure exactly what she wanted to say to him after all these years. But before she could say anything, Naruto beat her to it. "Dad," he said loudly. "Is it true Jiraiya was a big perv?" Some of the younger ninja in the crowd looked shocked. A few of the older ones began to laugh though. Nara Shikaku especially found that absolutely hilarious. Sarutobi shook his head. Minato looked shocked as well, then he glanced at Tsunade and understanding dawned. "We'll talk about it later, son." He sounded resigned. Naruto nearly collapsed at that answer. He needed Hinata to hold him up. Namake's Minato, Yondaime Hokage of Konoha, the legendary Yellow Flash, then offered Tsunade a singular honor by bowing very low to her. "Welcome home, Senju Tsunade." Tsunade really appreciated the gesture and gave him a returning bow. Even so, she couldn't resist getting a little dig in. "It's a much better welcome than I got last time." He looked back at her coolly. "It's also a much happier day. I guess he isn't totally over it," she thought. "You mentioned my coming home, but to be honest, I'm not sure Konoha is home anymore." "If it's not, then where is your home these days?" Minato asked. "Pretty much wherever I lay my head down at night," she said. "Speaking of which, since you no longer own any property in the village, why don't you and your apprentice Some stay with me at the mansion?" She hadn't expected that, especially not after sniping at him. "I would really like that. Especially since it would give me a chance to get to know Naruto a little better. And maybe mend some fences with you as well, Minato." "I would like that as well, Obasan." It was good to hear him call her auntie again. "What's wrong, Naruto-sama?" Kid asked with real concern. "You have barely touched my special ramen. By now you should be on your second bowl." "My life is a lie," Naruto said melodramatically. He looked at the head maid and his former nanny with a sliver of hope. "Kid, how well did you know Jiraiya?" "Quite well," she answered. "He was your father's sensei after all, and visited him here often." "Was he a pervert?" Naruto asked straight out. "Yes," Kid answered straight out. He looked at her in disappointment. "If that's so, why did you lie to me about him?" The old maid lifted a single snow-white eyebrow. "I do not believe I ever did lie about him, Naruto-sama. I cannot recall a single time I ever told you Jiraiya was not a pervert or Jiraiya did not peep at women in the bathhouse. But you said he was a hero and a great man and a great ninja like everyone else did," Naruto said accusingly. "I did, he was, and so? What does that have to do with his perverted nature?" "But how could he have been a great ninja and a pervert at the same time?" "It turns out he managed it rather easily," Kid said. "Whether you like it or not, Naruto-sama, people have flaws. In real life they are not as pure and perfect people we'd like them to be. Such people exist only in stories and in legend," she explained patiently. "The truth is Jiraiya was a great ninja, a great teacher, and a great man. He did save your father's life. He did save this village from the Kyuubi. He did also read dirty books, peep on women, and sleep around like a rabbit in heat." Naruto sputtered and turned red, none of which changes any of the brave things he did or makes them any less deserving of respect. "I am sorry if one of your heroes is not what you pictured him to be, but if you look close I think you will find every hero has at least a few flaws." "Even Dad?" Naruto asked. "Oh certainly," Kid said. "I can think of one huge flaw he has right off the top of my head." "What is it?" Naruto asked nervously, not sure he wanted to know. "He is completely addicted to ramen," Kid said in that serious way she always said everything. Naruto stared at her for a second before he burst out laughing. After that he finally found his appetite. "Thank you for letting me stay here, Minato," Tsunade said. "I really do appreciate it, you know." "It's all right, Auntie," Minato told her. "To be honest, I'm still a little bit angry at you for what happened." "Minato, if I had known what would happen I would have come. I swear to you I never once thought Kushina could die in childbirth." I know, he said nodding his head. "She was a strong woman." If the Kyuubi hadn't come, he let out a long sad sigh. "I know it's not fair to blame you for what happened, but I can't seem to help it. I suppose it's a bit like the way you blame Sarutobi and the village for Dana and Iwaki." "No, it's not," she said immediately. "That's totally different." "How?" She opened her mouth, but when she really stopped to compare the circumstances there really wasn't anything she could point to. She had not meant for Kushina to die, and had not deliberately caused her to. Sarutobi had not meant for either Iwaki or Dan to die, and had not deliberately caused them to. The village could be blamed only if she was going to blame all ninja villages, or the entire ninja system. Konoha had been at war, and her ninja had been called on to fight for her. They had died for the village, but there had never been any deliberate intent to harm either of them. "I can understand the need to blame someone when you suffer a terrible loss," she answered slowly. Maybe it's best to try and at least forgive as much as you can, even if you can't forgive completely." Minato nodded. "That's how I feel, even if there is still a little bit of anger. I would like you to come back to return to the village." She thought about it. There was nowhere else that she could call home. Except for Shizen, Naruto and Minato were the people she most wanted to see and protect. Shizen had often spoken of returning here and would be glad to finally end their nomadic ways. "I think I would like that." It was a beautiful fall day. The leaves were just beginning to fall from the trees and there was the occasional strong breeze that would hint that winter was coming. It was a day to spend by a lake, or in the woods. It seemed wrong to waste such a beautiful day on such a sad event. The memorial service was not especially well attended. Haruno Sakura had died too young to have caused many ripples. Like too many other genin, she had been killed on her first real mission. Her name had already been carved into the memorial stone, a permanent reminder that she had lived and given her life in service to her village, but fewer than 100 people attended her memorial. She did receive the honor of having the Hokage there as both a mourner and as the one to lead the ceremony. Her parents were there, of course, as well as a small handful of uncles, aunts, and cousins. Irika came to honor one of his students. Her former sensei Kurenai was there. After reporting to the Hokage, she had gone to Sakura's parents to inform them of her tragic death and to return to them her Hittite and other possessions. She apologized to them for her failure to protect their daughter and accepted the full blame for her death. Her teammates were there, representing the Aburame clan and the disgraced Uchiha. A number of her former classmates came to honor her memory: Hinata, Kiba, Shikamaru, Chuji, and Ino. As Ino laid down a white chrysanthemum, she silently took a kunai and sliced off her ponytail. Naruto laid down his flower in front of the photograph of a smiling pink-haired girl. It didn't seem real. It was hard to believe he would never see her again. He had lost his mom and godfather, of course, but this was the first time he'd lost someone he'd known. When he went back to his proper place, he watched as Sasuke placed down a flower as well. He looked sad. Naruto wondered how much Sasuke was feeling. He had lost his father, and a lot of his family. He knew what it really meant to grieve. What did he feel about Sakura? He momentarily thought about asking him, but quickly dismissed the notion. Knowing Sasuke, he would immediately clam up and insist he didn't feel a thing. The proud Uchiha would never admit to any weakness, especially not to him. When the ceremony came to an end, his father took time to speak with the Harunos. Naruto even knew for a fact that his dad and Sakura's mom had been classmates. He said a quiet goodbye to his teammates, and told them he would head home with his dad. He kept a respectful distance as his father spoke to Sakura's parents, and offered them what comfort he could. What could he say to them that would make losing their only child any easier? Words like duty, honor, obligation had to pale beside the realization that she was gone forever. He watched her mom cry against her husband's chest as his father nodded sympathetically. At last, when he had done what he could, his father came over to him, and they headed home. As they walked through the streets, people greeted them as usual, though they were a bit taken aback to see them dressed in mourning clothes. "You've been quiet," the Hokage said as they neared the mansion. "What's on your mind?" "I'm just thinking that Sakura didn't deserve to die like that," Naruto said solemnly. "She tried so hard to be the best ninja she could." Then on her very first real mission, he shook his head sadly. "I know, she did nothing wrong and did not deserve her fate. But that's true of most ninja. She just ran into a far stronger opponent, and that was all." He decided not to bring up Kurenai's questionable decision to continue their mission despite knowing the increased danger. "This is the hard reality of what it means to be a ninja. From the time I started teaching you how to fight, I have always told you that the shinobi way is the way of death, and every shinobi must be ready to kill or die at any moment." Naruto could only nod. That was something his father and all his instructors had drilled into him for as long as he could remember. He'd always understood that being a ninja was a serious business, and not something for those who were faint of heart. Knowing about it and dealing with it are different, though. "That's true, son," his father agreed. "No matter how much you understand it, the first time you kill and the first time you lose someone is always a shock. My father died on a mission when I was only 9. Every time he left, he made a point to say goodbye to me just in case it was for the last time. I was always scared he wouldn't come back. Yet when I heard he was gone, it was still a shock." He placed a hand on his son's shoulder and gave him a serious look. "This won't be the last time either. You need to know you will lose more precious people. There's no avoiding it when most of your friends are ninja." He thought about the people he cared about. His dad, Kakashi, Kid, Hinata, Kiba, Shikamaru, Chuji, Ino, Shino, and even Sasuke. He didn't want to ever go to another memorial service and see one of their photos on display. "What can I do to protect them?" he asked, sounding very serious. His father let out a heavy sigh. He was thinking about his former teammates, his sensei, and Kushina. "You can be the best ninja possible and always take your duties seriously. When you're older, you can try to be the best leader possible and protect everyone who depends on you. But know this, son," he spoke in a stern tone, "no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, you cannot save everyone. And there will be times when you will have to deliberately sacrifice some in order to save others. That too is part of being shinobi." Naruto looked up at his father as he carefully pondered his words. "Being Hokage is hard, isn't it, Dad?" "Yes, it is, but it's still worth doing even so. I know I can't save everyone, but I can protect as many people as I can. That's what makes being Hokage worthwhile." He gave Naruto a slight grin. "Even with all the paperwork?" Naruto considered that. "All right, I've decided." "Decided what?" Naruto smiled. "I'm going to Hokage one day." It was a week later and Sasuke and Shino were waiting at Training Ground 1. They were at long last getting their new sensei assigned to them along with a new teammate. "Who do you speculate we will be assigned as sensei?" Shino inquired in his usual monotone. "Some mid-level Chunin, I'll bet," Sasuke said with disinterest. It's not like the Hokage would waste his best on trying to teach an Uchiha. He'd been brooding on Sakura's death for the past week. He was determined he would never ever lose another teammate. He was going to become the best ninja in the village. Now not only to restore his clan's honor but to protect his teammates as well. Sasuke? A female voice called. What are you doing here? He was surprised to see his cousin entering the training ground. Hisa? Why are you here? She shrugged. I was reassigned to a new squad. I didn't expect to be joining you and your friend though. She nodded politely to his teammate. Hello, I am Uchiha Hisa, Sasuke's cousin. Shino returned the gesture. I am Abirame Shino. I welcome you to our squad. I see, Sasuke said unhappily. The Hokage's going to dump 2 Uchihos with some third-rate sensei, and then forget about us. It figures. You do not give the yandere enough credit, a voice spoke from within a cloud of smoke. All 3 ninja instinctively drew weapons and surrounded the new arrival. Minato does not hold grudges against those who have done him no harm. What was done to your clan Sasuke was justice whether you choose to recognize it or not. Give the Hokage the credit he deserves. The smoke cleared away to reveal an old figure dressed in black ninja gear. All 3 members of Team 8 gasped as soon as they recognized him. Lord Sarutobi! Hisa cried in astonishment. Why are you here? Painting was not as satisfying as I thought it would be and I wanted to do something a bit more active. I asked the yandere if there were any teams that needed a sensei. He recommended this squad. Actually, it was Minato who had come to him asking for a favor. He wanted to give these 3 the best possible instruction and help them become great ninja. Sarutobi grinned at the still stunned Sasuke. I trust you do not consider this old man to be a third-rate sensei. Sasuke immediately offered him a deep and respectful bow. Lord Sarutobi, I would be very deeply honored to have you as my sensei. The others quickly followed his example, declaring they would be happy to serve under him. About 3 weeks later, the Hokage gathered together all the senseis in the village. I think you can all guess what this is about, he said. The Chunin selection exams will be shortly held in this village. I wish to know how many of our squads are ready to take them. Let's start with this year's rookie teams. Do any of you feel your squads are ready for the exams? He was not surprised when Kakashi stepped forward. His former student had told him beforehand he would be nominating his team. He was a bit surprised when Asuma stepped forward to nominate Team 10 and was very surprised when Sarutobi also stepped forward. On the honor of my clan the Sarutobi, I declare that Squad 8 comprising Uchiha Sasuke, Uchiha Hisa, and Abirame Shino stand ready to face the trials. They must be fast learners, Minato commented. Well, alright then, we'll see what the kids can do. Sasuke was drenched in sweat and panting. His knees had a slight tremble to them and his back bent a bit. Sarutobi recognized all of these as signs of exhaustion. Given the number of jutsus he performed, he would not have been surprised if the boy were nearing chakra exhaustion as well. Enough, Sasuke. That is more than enough. The selection exams begin tomorrow. There is no point in exhausting yourself now. Despite his obvious weariness, the boy stubbornly shook his head. I have to do more. This is my chance to begin restoring my clan's name. I intend to win and show the whole village and Uchiha's strength. I am well aware how important it is for you to do well tomorrow, Sarutobi replied patiently. It is because of that you should go home and get a good night's sleep. The exams are always very difficult, and you need to be fully rested. Nothing you gain from more training now will be worth beginning the exams tired. Listen to him, Sasuke, his cousin Hisa said. Do you want to fall on your face from exhaustion while everyone's watching? Fine, he said. He still wanted to train, but their arguments made too much sense to just ignore. Now remember, while I will be available to you between stages, I am not allowed to assist you during the exams themselves. The 3 of you will be on your own and need to work together and rely on each other. Sarutobi told them. You will be competing against the top genin squads from throughout the elemental lands. It's very rare for rookie squads to be nominated. The fact that 3 of you are competing is something of an aberration. The teams you will be facing will be older and much more experienced. Many of them will see you as soft targets and will deliberately seek you out. When the competition begins, do not lower your guards for even a moment, or you may well die. Deaths are a regular part of these exams. Sasuke nodded his head seriously. Don't worry, Sarutobi-sensei. I'm not taking this lightly. Sarutobi nodded. The boy was fiercely driven and would definitely not take anything for granted. He'd only wished he'd had more time to train them. All 3 showed great potential. He had hopes for all of them and believed all 3 could be Jonin one day. However, they were still awfully young. Sasuke and Shino were 12 and Hisa only 15. No matter how confident Sasuke might be, it was highly unlikely any of them would earn promotion, never mind actually win the exams. This would provide them valuable experience for the future, assuming they lived. I certainly hope you have found your accommodations in our village to your liking, Minato said. On the eve of the Chunin selection exams, he had one of the squads in his office. Being Hokage meant, among other things, always dealing with politics both within and without the village. This meeting was designed to strengthen one of Konoha's alliances and help maintain the goodwill between 2 ninja villages. We have found our accommodations, more than satisfactory, Lord Hokage, Baki said. I certainly have no complaints about the hospitality we have received. Well, it would be even better if there were a few more bars, Kankuro said. His older sister slammed an elbow into his ribs, followed by a warning look. Please ignore my brother Lord Hokage, he is joking, Temari said. He rubbed the sore spot with one hand. Right, just a little joke there. This land is so green and rich, Temari continued. It's easy to see why Konoha is the strongest of the great villages. Minato nodded politely. He'd been to Suna a few times. Any place was likely to look green and lush by comparison. Fire Country is a fertile land certainly, in that we are very blessed. May I also say Lord Hokage, Temari continued. What an honor it is to meet the legendary Yellow Flash. In my home village you are always spoken of with great respect, almost all. Kankuro smirked. I hear in IWA moms tell their brats to be good, or you'll come for them. Well, that's something I could do without, he said with a slight frown. Since the end of the war, relations with Earth Country and the village of IWA had remained decidedly rocky. The war had originally begun with a border dispute between Fire and Earth and quickly escalated. Before the war, the Rocknines had been loudly proclaiming themselves the strongest village, challenging Konoha's position. Their defeat had left them very clearly ranked as the second strongest. Minato had hoped that IWA might send some teams to participate in the exams. He'd even gone so far as to send the Tsuchikage some private correspondence encouraging him to do so. He'd received no response at all to his efforts, and once again IWA had chosen not to participate. The bitterness of a lost war had not diminished for them even after so many years. Earth Country was rich in mineral wealth and had a larger population than Fire. 15 years had given them time to replace many of the ninja they had lost. Given their strained relations, Minato saw no reason to think IWA would ever become a friend. They had the resources and manpower to still be a dangerous enemy. The peace between them was due solely to their respect of Konoha's strength. If they saw Konoha weaken, another war would be a real possibility. Preventing that and safeguarding the village was part of the reason for the current meeting. The team was composed of the Kazekage's 3 children. The alliances with Suna and Kumo made Leaf much too powerful for IWA to even think of attacking. Staying on good terms with his allies was vital. Being feared has its uses. Baki said. Yes, very true, a soft voice said. That came from Gaara, and was the first thing he'd said since entering the office. The red-haired boy had dark circles beneath his eyes and carried a huge gourd in his back. While everyone else had stood right in front of the Hokage's desk, he had deliberately hung back away from the rest. He had remained sullen and withdrawn during the entire meeting, not speaking a word. Minato was very surprised to see his 2 siblings glancing back at him with anxious looks. Looks that were bordering on fearful. Why would a brother and sister be fearful of their younger sibling? When his sensei glanced at him, he managed to keep whatever thoughts he had well hidden. Well, I agree that in this world it is very useful to be feared, Minato spoke, hoping to draw the boy into the conversation. Though it is always better to be loved. I disagree, Gaara replied in his soft, polite voice. Though quiet up until now, he showed no concern about speaking his mind to the 4th Hokage. Love is worthless. Fear is the only thing that matters. It is the ultimate sign of respect, Gaara, Baki said carefully. You should not argue with the Lord Hokage, especially when we are his guests. That's quite all right, Minato said. I don't mind when someone disagrees with me. He turned his focus back to Gaara. That's a rather harsh outlook, though. If I may ask, if you think so little of love, why do you have it tattooed onto your forehead? It's a permanent reminder that I should love only myself. That brought a disapproving frown. Love only yourself? You mean you don't feel love for anyone else? What about your brother and sister here? Your sensei? Your father? Your friends? Your village? Gaara stared back at him with lifeless teal eyes. I hate my village and my father. I have no friends. I respect sensei, that doesn't mean I love him or even care about him. As for these 2, he nodded at Kankuro and Temari. They're nothing to me. Minato noted that the girl at least appeared saddened to hear that. Saddened, but not surprised. The older brother had no reaction at all. He couldn't help but wonder what sort of family life these 3 had. Perhaps it would be best if all of you returned to the hotel to rest for a bit. I will join you shortly, Baki said. Gaara nodded and exited, followed warily by Temari and Kankuro. As soon as they were gone, Baki was bowing. Please forgive my students' rudeness. I assure you it was not intended. I don't take offense at someone telling me what they honestly believe. Though I will admit to being startled at hearing that from someone so young. Gaara has had a difficult upbringing, Baki said, looking a bit uncomfortable. Why? He is the son of the Kazekage. I would think he would have a problem with too much affection rather than too little. I fear it is a matter I cannot discuss, Baki replied, politely but firmly declining to continue further. I actually have a private message for you from the Kazekage about an important matter he hopes to discuss with you. He took out a sealed envelope and handed it over. He was immensely relieved that the Hokage accepted it without any further mention of Gaara. Minato broke the wax seal and began reading the message. Private correspondence between Kages was nothing unusual. Official dispatches were for public issues where each man wanted his position stated for the record. Private messages like this were for matters that they did not want known. Minato began reading it. About halfway through, both his eyebrows jumped. He looked up at Baki. Do you know what is written here? Yes, Lord Hokage, I do. I assure you that it is a matter of utmost importance to the Kazekage. One he hopes to discuss more fully with you when he arrives here for the finals. I see, Minato said with a blank expression. Does the Kazekage's proposal meet with your disapproval? I didn't say that, Minato responded. Then you are in favor of it? I didn't say that either. Minato carefully leaned back in his chair, deliberately giving no hint to his thoughts. Then what response shall I convey to the Kazekage? Please tell the Yondaime Kazekage that I will consider his proposal very seriously and that I look forward to discussing it with him face to face when he arrives. Baki nodded. He was not surprised that the Hokage was guarding his thoughts on the matter. That was only fair as his decision would have a huge impact of the relations between their two villages. The exams were set to begin in room 301 of the academy at exactly noon. Sasuke and Hisa had both tried to wheedle any kind of information out of their sensei about what to expect. Sarutobi's reply had been succinct and to the point. Expect anything and everything, he had told them. Oh, come on! Hisa practically exploded. I've been through 3 of these already. Then you should already have a good idea of what to expect, Sarutobi told her. In general, yeah, I do. But couldn't you at least give us a hint about the specifics? Hisa asked. You want us to pass, don't you? Sasuke added. Certainly, but only if you are capable of doing it without undue influence from me. If you cannot pass these exams through your own strength, it would be better for you to fail now, and take them again when you are better prepared. I've already said I'm going to win these exams, Sasuke replied without an ounce of give. Then do so, but do not rely on any outside help from me. This is a test of your skills and abilities alone. Think of it as an A-rank mission with no intel. You must be prepared for anything because you have no idea what is there waiting for you. You're not making this easy, Hisa sighed. The exams are not supposed to be easy, Hisa, Sarutobi chided. Just the opposite, they are designed to be unfair and difficult in the extreme. Otherwise there would be little point to them. That's fine, Sasuke said. The harder it is, the more impressed people will be when we make Chunin. Kakashi accompanied Team 7 as far as the academy entrance. He was reading a magazine entitled Bind Me Tightly. Kakashi-sensei, do you have to read that in public? Hinata asked, feeling deeply embarrassed. It's okay, Hinata, he assured her. I'm only interested in the articles, I swear. Hey! We're about to enter the exams. Naruto shouted, trying to at least get Kakashi to look up from his magazine. How about some advice or something? Kakashi kept reading. Sure, try not to do anything really stupid. Hey! Don't you have any faith in us? Naruto demanded. It almost sounds like you expect us to do something stupid. Now he finally did look up to grin at Naruto. Do you really want me to answer that? Naruto began to sputter with rage as Kakashi put the magazine away. Just do your best and I'll see you when you're done. He vanished in a swirl of wind and leaves. Great, Naruto muttered. He was about as much help as usual. Don't worry, Naruto-kun, Hinata told him with a confident smile. I'm sure we'll do fine. Inside they ran into Niji and his squad. Hinata and her cousin wished each other good luck. When they arrived at room 301, the auditorium was packed. Not only with ninja squads but with men in dirty gray jumpsuits wearing chains about their hands and ankles. These men were obviously convicts from the local prison. What are they doing here? Kiba asked, startled. I've got no idea. Naruto said. Why are there prisoners here? Hisa asked. Sasuke had spotted the arrival of Naruto and his team but had made no effort to speak to him. This was not the time or place for chit-chat. They were all in competition now, and he wanted to beat Naruto especially. No idea, you're the one who's done this before. That doesn't mean I know anything useful, Hisa told him. The specific tests are always different. What I can tell you is that the first test will likely be some type of test of skill or intelligence. If we pass that, the second test always involves serious combat. The first 2 phases are team-oriented. If we get to the third and final test, it will be one-on-one combat between finalists. Sasuke imagined facing Naruto in the finals and beating him with all Konoha watching. He was daydreaming about it when there was a massive cloud of smoke followed by the arrival of about a dozen ninja. All right. Quiet down, maggots. A burly nin with scars crossing his face called out. My name is Marino Ibiki and I am the proctor for the first phase of the Chunin selection exams. The ninja in the room quickly quieted down to listen. I happen to be head of Konoha's torture and interrogation section of the ANBU. Now, as you may have noticed, we have some special guests with us today. He waved at the prisoners. They're here to help us with your test. All of you will be conducting interrogations of these men. You will have to figure out who is telling the truth and who is lying to you. He gave them all a cold, ugly smile. If you can't, you fail. Now listen up. I'm only going to explain the rules once. With that, the exams were underway. Ibiki took out a piece of chalk and began writing on the board. He wrote out one single word and underlined it. Information. To a ninja, nothing is more valuable than good intel. The success of a mission, and your own worthless lives, often depend on what you know. Getting the right information at the right moment can save your lives or give you a chance to succeed where you would otherwise likely fail. Needless to say, the reverse is true as well. If you believe the wrong thing, you can find yourself in the middle of an ambush. More importantly, it can wreck an operation. As ninja, you swim in a sea of deception and lies. Being able to separate what is real from what is false is absolutely vital. He paused to look them over. They were all paying attention to him, but he saw only a handful of worried faces. Obviously, most of them were thinking this would be a snap. That was what he wanted. Out in the field, you will often have to question prisoners to find out what you need to know. In such a situation, they will of course try to deceive you. It is an absolutely essential skill to be able to extract what you need from someone who is absolutely determined not to give it to you. Our guests, he motioned to the prisoners, are all serving long prison sentences with little or no hope of parole. However, they have been promised certain inducements that will make their time much more pleasant. If they can succeed in fooling you or denying you the information. These men therefore have nothing to lose and everything to gain by causing you to fail. They are highly motivated and will not just give you what you want. You'll have to take it from them. He turned back towards the chalkboard. Now here are the rules, he began writing on the board again. First rule, you are not permitted to kill or permanently injure your prisoner. This does not mean you are forbidden to use physical violence if you wish. He gave them all a soulless grin. You can beat the hell out of them if you like. However, you are not permitted to actually kill them, break any bones, injure any organs, or do anything else that would be considered permanent, like giving them a nice new scar. He ran a finger over one of his own. Breaking this rule results in immediate failure and disqualification from these exams. Within these limits, though, you can do anything you want to these men with any weapon, tool, or jutsu. Second rule, you will have to declare to an instructor what you believe the truth is. The prisoners have been given a specific piece of information which you need to get out of them. Each team will be assigned a room and one of my subordinates who will be present to make sure Rule 1 isn't violated and to act as your superior in receiving the information. It's not enough to get the information. You also have to be able to recognize it as such, so just getting him to confess won't be enough unless you can also figure out he's telling you what you need. When you believe you have the right intel, you will have to inform the instructor. If you give him the wrong information, you fail immediately. In a real mission, believing and passing on false info to a superior would lead to disaster. Therefore, you get only one chance to get it right. If you believe a lie enough to pass it on, you obviously have no business as Chunin. Third rule, you have a 1-hour time limit that begins when your instructor tells you. If you do not have the information by then, you fail. He paused to let all the rules sink in. He saw more concern than before, but most still seemed sure they would pass. Any questions? No one raised a hand or spoke. All right then, an instructor will bring you to your room with one of the prisoners. Good luck to all of you. In room 206, a prisoner sat down in a too small seat and faced the ninja. He had lucked out and been assigned to a team of children. He was sure that he could withstand anything they could do to him for an hour. All right, the instructor said. You can begin. He leaned against the wall and became a casual observer. The blonde girl stepped forward with an ingratiating smile. I think I should warn you that this will go much better for you if you just give up now and tell us the information. He kept his mouth shut and remained silent. She sighed. Well, I tried to warn you. That was when he heard an odd sound. Looking over to the red-haired boy, she was sand spilling out onto the floor. He began to feel nervous as he saw it begin to creep towards him, moving on its own. Remember, Gary, you can't kill him, the girl said. I know, the red-haired boy answered, sounding slightly frustrated. I'm going to try and enjoy this anyway. All at once the sand leapt up and began to scour him. He opened his mouth to shout, only to have the sand fill his mouth, nose and throat. His eyes were covered and he was encased, unable to move. He began to choke and suffocate, literally buried alive in that sand. He was held like that for only 1 minute. When he could breathe again, he was only too eager to tell them what they needed to know. One of the absolute basic truths of a shinobi's life was that only another shinobi could understand it. No matter how close he might become to others, only fellow shinobi could really know what it meant to be a living weapon, always prepared to kill or to die at any moment. Namikaze Minato was no exception. He had always treasured the close ties he'd had with his fellow leaf nins and had hated the distance that had started to grow as he first became the Yellow Flash and then Hokage. As such, he'd made a special rule. Whenever he appeared in his trench coat and Jonin vest, no one was allowed to call him Hokage. For these short periods he was just Minato. When he entered the copper cellar, a favorite bar, he was greeted by name. A handful of genin tried to address him as Hokage-sama and had their mouths covered by their fellows. Minato was making his way to the bar when a couple arms grabbed him around the chest. Even through his trench coat he could feel a pair of large breasts press into his back. Long time no see, cutie, Yamanaka Dita said with an impish grin. She was a mother and had been happily married to Inoichi for more than 13 years now. Even so, she couldn't resist teasing her one-time crush. Minato knew she was only teasing and so didn't mind responding to it. Dita-chan, you know I was always secretly in love with you. She rolled her eyes and giggled. Oh great, you tell me that now. Sensei, Kakashi called, waving him over to a table. Looks like you're getting away again. Story of my life. Dita let him go with a quick kiss on the cheek. Call me sometime handsome. If it's you, I can always get a divorce. You're kidding, right? She slinked away, grinning back at him. Maybe. When Minato came over to where Kakashi was sitting, his former student was grinning beneath his mask. Does Inoichi know? Don't start. Minato sat down and ordered a beer. So how do you think the kids are doing? He knew only that Ibiki was the proctor for the first phase. He had no idea what sort of test it was. Given Ibiki's reputation, it was likely to be torture. I think Naruto and his team will manage, Minato said. I also have high hopes for Sasuke and his squad as well. Kakashi glanced over at his sensei. From the very beginning he had believed his sensei to be the very best of men. In all the years they had known each other he had never seen anything to make him question that opinion. You really have no resentment against Sasuke at all, do you? Why would I? He had nothing to do with the plot. You can't blame the son for the actions of the father. A lot of the villagers don't feel that way. I know, Minato said sadly. I had to punish the entire clan for the coup attempt. After that though things were settled. Unfortunately I can't force everyone to treat Sasuke and the remaining Uchiha fairly. Even a Hokage's authority has its limits. Too bad Sasuke doesn't see things that way. He blames everything that happened on you and not on his father for trying to overthrow you. That's certainly easier for him than facing up to the harsh reality. He gave Kakashi a raised eyebrow. Young boys have a hard time when a father is taken from them. In time they come to accept things as they are, not as they'd like them to be. Kakashi winced slightly. He recalled what he's been like as a boy trying to deal with his father's suicide. Point taken, he said. Minato took a long pull on his beer. He had come here wanting to talk to his friend as one ninja and man to another. The setting though was wrong for the kind of talk he wanted to have. Say Kakashi, care to take a walk with me? You only just got here. I feel like taking a walk with a friend, Minato said. All right, sensei. He finished his beer. But please don't try anything. I only like you as a friend. Oh, I know, Minato said innocently. It's not like we ever shared a bath together like you and Obito did that one time. Beneath his mask Kakashi paled. You swore never to mention that again. And nothing happened. We just didn't have time to take separate baths. If you say so, though you certainly did seem to enjoy having your back scrubbed. Sensei, thunk. 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 The convict's eyes were wide as saucers. First he'd been hog-tied and left by the wall unable to move. Then a crazy girl dressed in pink had started throwing knives at him. The last few had come less than a hair from his throat. He was staring at the razor-sharp blade that was half embedded into the wall. What are you doing? That could have killed me, Yash. A boy in a green leotard called out. There is nothing to fear. Tenten will surely not miss. Unless of course you start shaking too much, the girl said pleasantly, flipping a kunai up in one hand. Then who knows, hearing that he couldn't keep from shaking. You're not allowed to kill me or do me permanent damage to me. The girl turned to her other teammate who was sitting on the teacher's desk just looking on pleasantly. If I accidentally slice open his jugular, would that count as permanent damage? Don't know, the other boy responded. I suppose it all depends on whether or not you leave a scar, I guess. Assuming he doesn't bleed to death, she said. Well, yes, assuming that. Okay. I'll tell you what you want, Byakugan. The veins about the boy's pale eyes popped up, giving him an ugly deformed look. I'm listening. The info is that the second phase of the exams will be held outside the village. His teammates both looked at him expectantly. He's lying, the boy said. In an instant a kitchen drawer's worth of knives headed for the man's head and neck. Hey! I'm telling the truth, I swear it. No you're not, the boy said. When a person lies his heartbeat increases. It's nothing you can control. It's a biological response that's hardwired into the body. There's no point to lying, as I can tell every time. Now let's hear the truth before my teammate misses. Seeing he was beaten and not wanting to get killed or maimed by accident, he gave in. All right, fine. The message is, the instructor nodded. That is correct, your team passes. Shikamaru grinned and looked at his blonde teammate. You know, even though you're loud and troublesome, there are times when you're pretty useful. Shut up, you lazy jerk. She punched him in the arm, making the lazy Nara boy wince. Who are you calling troublesome? As Shikamaru rubbed his arm, Chuji spoke up, trying to lighten the mood. You really did great, Ino. I don't know what we would have done without you. Hearing Chuji's praise pleased her, especially after listening to Shika's remarks. Well, of course. I know you boys would be lost without me. The message was pretty interesting too. It was a haiku, Shikamaru noted, looking at her. That's a kind of poem. I know what a haiku is, jerk. She punched him again, even harder. He was bound to a post surrounded by fire. He could feel the heat from the flame through his clothes and could smell the smoke filling his lungs. Stop it, I'll talk. Stop it, I beg you. In an instant the scene around him vanished, and he was once again in a classroom. The girl facing him still had those inhuman red eyes peering at him. I apologize for putting you through that, she told him, sounding sincere. Since activating her Sharingan, she discovered not only that it was a huge help with physical combat and copying jutsus, but had also made her genjutsus even more effective. She could capture most genin in them. A civilian had no hope of resisting or breaking free. Please give me the information we need. Fine then, he said, and recited the lines of a haiku. That's the information you were after. Hisa glanced over at Sasuke. Even though she was older and more experienced, he had made himself their leader. It had nothing to do with who his father had been. It was his strength of purpose and his will. I think he is telling the truth. I concur, Shino agreed. Sasuke looked over at the instructor. We believe this to be the correct message. The ninja deliberately hesitated just a bit to make them sweat. That is the right information. Your team passes. return to room 301 and wait there for further instructions. In room 116, you have 10 minutes left, the instructor told them. All 3 members of Team 7 looked at one another. They'd assumed this would be easy. How hard could it be to get someone to tell you something? Once they were in the room, though, they realized that none of them knew genjutsu or any other jutsu specifically designed to gain information. Since the prisoner already knew they could not kill him, death threats were useless. That left them nothing but physical compulsion. Neither Naruto nor Kiba enjoyed hitting someone who couldn't hit back. They were ninja, though, and had been trained that you did whatever the mission required regardless of whether or not it was pleasant. They'd taken turns hitting him while he was tied up to a chair. His nose was broken and his lips split. Tomorrow he would be covered in bruises. The man, though, had been a gang member and a killer. He'd been taking and receiving vicious beatings his whole life. For him this was just one more, and not even the worst. He kept giving them false information in hopes they would fail. But with Hinata there was no chance of that. Now only 10 minutes were left, and they had no new ideas about how to get what they needed. Looking uncomfortable, Hinata spoke up. Can I try something? Sure, Naruto said. He was starting to feel desperate. He didn't want his team to fail, especially not like this. Hinata approached the bloodied convict and bowed to him, a clan heir to a convicted murderer. I apologize for doing this to you. Naruto had been sparring with her and Neji since he was 6 and was intimately familiar with Juken, or gentle fist. When Hinata was fighting, she always had her palms open and flat. He immediately noticed that now she had her hand closed with the index and middle fingers extended. Byakugan. With her bloodline active, she hit him 7 or 8 times in the chest and shoulders. There was a delay of about 5 seconds, and then suddenly the man was screaming his head off. Yeah. Oh. Stop. I'll talk. Naruto and Kiba were amazed. Then Guy had barely made a sound the entire time they beat him. Hinata-chan, that's incredible. How did you do that? Naruto asked. She quickly struck him in the same spots again, and he calmed down. Nerve clusters, she explained. With pressure in the correct points you can remove all feeling or cause intense pain. How come you didn't do this at the start? Kiba asked. She looked down, feeling embarrassed. This isn't something I enjoy doing, but it was a last resort, so I used it. Thanks, Hinata-chan. You really saved us. Naruto also made a mental note to never, ever get Hinata mad at him. Let's hear the information, Kiba barked. And it better be true this time. Sure, the prisoner said. He's sooner he stabbed 5 times than feel that again. The message is a haiku. He recited it. If duty is done, and honor is satisfied, what is left to fear? Naruto gave a sour grunt. You have got to be kidding me. Hinata nodded, recognizing it as well. Kiba was lost. What? Is it something special? Naruto looked at him. Haven't you ever visited the statue of the great Jiraiya that's next to the memorial? Yeah, so? This haiku is engraved there, Hinata said. It was written by the Yondaime in honor of Jiraiya. It's a message, Naruto said quietly. It means that so long as a ninja is faithful to his duty, he has no reason to fear death. With that, Team 7 was passed and headed back to room 301. Somehow I knew we were going to end up here, Kakashi said. They were standing in front on the life-size bronze of the great Jiraiya. I like to come here when I need to think, Minato said. What do you suppose he would say if he could see this? Kid! Why didn't you make it bigger? Minato had a surprised laugh. Yes, Sensei would say something like that. So, what is it you need to think about? Kakashi didn't need to look underneath the underneath for this. You obviously have something serious on your mind. Minato answered the question with one of his own. Does a Hokage ever have the right to be selfish and not do what's best for the village for personal reasons? Kakashi looked at him in genuine surprise. I have trouble imagining you being that selfish. The Hokage must be the sword and shield of the village. He must always protect his village no matter the cost. Didn't you say that? Yes, I did, Minato replied. At the time, though, I was only thinking about what I might have to give up. To Kakashi's surprise, Minato pulled out a folded piece of paper and handed it to him. This is an S-rank secret. You can speak of it to no one but me. Understood. He took the paper and started to read it. His single visible eye went wide. A marriage contract? With the Kazekage's daughter? Minato nodded. He wants a blood tie between Namikaze and Sabaku. With this, the alliance between Suna and Konoha would be just about unbreakable. What will Naruto say? Minato frowned. I doubt he'll be happy about it, but he's a ninja and understands duty. He'll accept it. Kakashi recognized that tone. You've already decided to agree to this, haven't you? Sighing heavily, the Yondaime Hokage nodded. Yes, I have. Returning to room 301, they found it far less crowded than earlier. Naruto was surprised to see both the other rookie squads already there. Sasuke's team deliberately kept its distance while Team 10 was only too eager to come over and say hello. Hey cutie! Ino called with a wave. Before she could reach Naruto, Hinata neatly slid in, blocking her path. Ino, she said politely. Hello, Hinata, the other girl responded just as politely. I hope you've been taking good care of my Naruto-kun? I didn't realize he belonged to you. I always thought it was rather obvious. And then you wake up, Hinata said sweetly. They're off and running, Shikamaru commented under his breath. How troublesome. He was careful to remain quiet. His arm was still sore. Naruto was also uncomfortable. He just didn't understand why Hinata and Ino always acted this way. Couldn't they all just be friends? Pardon me, but aren't you Namake's Naruto? Naruto turned about and was very surprised to see a blonde kunoichi towering over him. She was very pretty with an unusual hairstyle, and an outfit that showed off long athletic legs. Her Hittite announced that she was from Suna. Ah, that's right. I am. He'd never seen her before and tried to be as polite as he could. I thought so, she said happily. You look a lot like your father even with those cute scars on your cheeks. Obviously good looks run in your family. She surprised him by giving him a polite bow. I am Sabaka no Temari of Suna. You're the daughter of the Kazekage? Being the Hokage's son, he had been required to learn about the other ruling Kages and their families. He quickly returned her bow. He didn't want to accidentally offend the daughter of one of their most important allies. I'm honored to meet you as well, Temari-san. Oh, no need to be so formal, she said with a big smile. Please call me Temari, and may I also call you Naruto? Sure, I guess. I realize this isn't the best circumstance for meeting someone, but I wanted to take the opportunity to say hello. I hope to be seeing a great deal more of you once the second phase of the exams is complete. She reached out and placed an affectionate hand on his cheek. Please think kindly of me. She then departed to return to her teammates. When Naruto turned back around, Ino and Hinata were staring at him with identical looks of shock and mouths hanging wide open. Kiba snorted a rude laugh. Hey Naruto, never knew you went for older women. Huh? He looked and sounded completely dumbfounded. Naruto-kun. Hinata called out in a tone he never heard from her before. Who was that? Her name is Temari and she's Hikazekage's daughter. And just how do you know her? She demanded. And just why is she touching you like that? Ino asked with her arms angrily crossed over her chest. The two girls who'd been arguing just a moment before were suddenly standing shoulder to shoulder glaring at him. Off to the side, Shikamaru mumbled that things were troublesome, offering about as much help as he usually did. Naruto looked between the two girls. How the heck had he wound up in this situation when he hadn't done anything? I've never met her before, I swear. Then why was she being so friendly? Ino demanded. I don't know. Maybe she just wanted to be nice because of who my father is. And why are you two ganging up on me? Kankuro was amused at the sight of the little guy being interrogated by two irate-looking girls. You just had to cause him trouble, didn't you? I wasn't causing him any trouble, Temari said primly. Since we're going to be together from now on, it was only proper I introduce myself. You're getting a little ahead of yourself, don't you think? Kankuro asked. According to Baki, all the Hokage said was that he'd be willing to discuss it further when our father comes here. Well, naturally he's going to say that, Temari replied confidently. There's no way he'd just agree to something like this without taking time to think it over. In the end, though, I'm sure his answer will be yes. Pretty sure of yourself? He looked at her questioningly. It sounds like you want this to happen. He was surprised when she nodded. Why wouldn't I? I mean, I love Suna, but I think I could be happy here. I've always known father was likely to arrange a marriage for me, and it's not like I was in love with someone else. Everyone I ask tells me he's a bit light-hearted but really very kind. I'm sure I'll be happy. He glanced back to where Naruto was still trying to fend off the two girls. You think he knows yet? No, it's obvious he has no idea what's been proposed. She shrugged. No reason for it until the decision is made final, I guess. What if he's against it? He'll learn to accept it in time, I'm sure, she laughed. I'll win him over. I'm very charming after all. If Kankuro had been asked to describe his sister, charming would not be among the first 10 adjectives. Likely not in the first 20. He had the good sense not to mention it though. Gaara was 5 feet away from them but ignored their conversation. He couldn't have cared less whether or not Temari was happy or even whether or not the marriage went through. All his focus was on Naruto. Everyone knew that he was the Jinchuriki of the 9 tails. The story of Jiraiya's sacrifice was already fast becoming legend. Coming to Konoha, he'd hoped to face Naruto and test himself, one container against another. He'd also been slightly interested to see if his situation was even more wretched than his own. He'd assumed he would be a pariah among his people, hated and shunned by everyone, living in despair and consumed by bitterness towards the whole miserable world. Instead, he'd seen him smiling. The two idiot girls berating him clearly had not even a hint of fear of him. His own father wouldn't dare talk to him the way those two were addressing the Kyuubi's container. He even allowed them to shout at him. From a distance, there was nothing at all to suggest he was a Jinchuriki. His normalcy was utterly bizarre in Gaara's eyes. As he watched, there was an odd pressure inside his chest. He wasn't sure, but he thought it might be jealousy. Naruto was rescued when the room was filled with colored smoke. When the smoke began to clear, they saw confetti rain down from the ceiling and a bunch of sparklers around a female figure dressed in a trench coat and fishnet. On the black board behind her was written, "The Great Mitarashi Enko." All right, maggots, she shouted. All of you who are in this room now passed the first phase of the exams. Congratulations. Now get your butts up and follow me. My name is Mitarashi Enko, and I'm proctor for the second phase. The hard part starts right now. You mean we're going directly to the next phase? Grass Nin asked. That's right, she said with an obscene grin. We're heading out right now. We're to a lovely spot designated Training Ground 44, though we Leaf-Neens like to call it the Forest of Death. Naruto had lived in Konoha all his life and heard all sorts of stories from his father, Kakashi, and others about the village. Somehow or other he never heard about this place though. There was a 12-foot-high chain-link fence topped by barbed wire. Beyond the fence were gigantic twisted and deformed trees with thick underbrush. For a second he thought he spotted something big and furry looking out from cover. When he looked again it was gone or better hidden. Looking around he counted off 18 teams with a total of 54 ninja. Of those half were from Leaf, including his own squad, Sasuke's, Ino's, and Niji's. He spotted the Tsunade team with Temari on it. When she noticed she waved to him. Even though it brought a dark look from Hinata he waved back. Enko was standing in front of them with a small wooden box. A couple of her assistants were handing out forms. Naruto took a look at one of them. They were consent forms, stating he and his family waived all right to compensation should he be killed or injured in the exams. As soon as all of you sign and hand back in these forms we'll begin. She reached into the box and produced a round copper badge on the edge of a chain. There are 18 badges here, each of you will be given one. The purpose of this part of the test is simple, it's a nasty all-out version of capture the flag, or in this case capture the badge. She smiled and tossed the badge she was holding. Naruto was surprised to have it sent to his way. He easily caught it out of the air. Inspecting it he saw the number 1 stamped into one side of the medal, on the other was an impression of the Hokage monument. At the center of this training ground is a fortress. She began tossing out more badges. Your goal is to reach that fortress with your entire team while in possession of 3 badges. You have 72 hours to acquire 2 more badges and bring them with you to the fortress. You can get them by stealth or by force. If you happen to lose yours and can get 3 more that's fine, so long as you have them when you make it in. 72 hours? Chuji howled. What are we going to do for food? You're ninja fatty, Enko said without any sympathy. Chuji turned red and both Ino and Shika had to calm him. Find food. The forest is filled with nature's bounty. It's also filled with venomous plants and insects, and every sort of dangerous predator. And while you're in there you'll be surrounded by hostile ninja out to steal what's yours. Have fun. Everyone looked around, trying to size up the competition. They would have to fight and defeat 2 other teams, or find a way to steal a badge away form a squad of shinobi. A lot of eyes were looking his way and towards the other rookies. It was obvious they were already being singled out as weaklings and easy targets. Now here are the rules, Enko announced. First rule, as I've already said you have to get 3 badges to the fortress within 72 hours. If you can't get them within the time limit you fail. Second rule, only complete teams are allowed to pass this phase. If any member of your team is killed or otherwise wounded too badly to continue you automatically fail. Third rule, you have to keep all badges in plain view at all times and are not allowed to make counterfeits, or destroy any of them. One person must wear all the badges your team has acquired around the neck at all times, and they must be worn right out in the open, no hiding them. Naruto nodded, that would make bluffing pointless. They were being forced to show all their opponents what they had. Without bothering to ask anyone he slipped the badge around his neck. Those are all the rules. Beyond what I've told you anything goes from the moment you step inside until you either reach the fortress or time expires. Killing your opponents is not encouraged but is not against the rules. So keep that in mind if you find yourself in a bad situation. You'll have to decide what risks you're willing to take with your teammates' lives. There are entrances all around the perimeter of the forest. They are all an equal distance to the center where your goal is. One of my assistants will take you to one, and at the proper moment you'll begin. Any questions? No one said anything. Okay then, I've got just one piece of advice for you. She flashed them all an amused grin. Just don't die. On that cheerful note they began heading to their designated starting points.